Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Colton Brown, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I enjoy your stellar camera work you've got going on there. Our listeners can't see it, but they'll have to take my word for it. It's very impressive. What we could do is we have a witness besides myself that can attest to the exceptional, the dizzying camera work that you're doing right now. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Henrique Jaime. How are you?
Good, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Well,
doing good.
Yeah. I think we're flying high after seeing a little bit of Captain Marvel. I would say. I know we all know that Mr. Andrew Meadows is a big fan of one Brie Larson, aka
Very much
Captain
a fan
Marvel.
of Brie Larson. Yes,
Mohawk Bay, as she is sometimes known. But it's
Binary
exciting.
Bay.
Okay. All right. He's changing it up on us. Wasn't ready for that one.
Mohawk Bay is totally what she is. Totally Mohawk Bay.
She could be both. It's fine. But yes, the 21st entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I do believe, has arrived into cinemas. We've all seen it, and we're here to talk about it. It's going to be a good time. Looking forward to getting into it. And of course, we brought back Henry because he's our resident Marvel expert. He's the man himself. He's the one. He's joined us all the way when we started with Iron Man back in our Phase 1 bonus episodes. The first bonus episode we ever did. Now we're doing more bonus episodes. We're doing big bonus episodes covering all of Game of Thrones. So on that note, I want to point out to anyone that is not aware, by the time this episode is up on the regular feed, you will have noticed that it is preceded by our Season 1 episode. So all listeners, we hope you have had a chance to listen to that. If not, take a listen. It is friendly for anyone that has not watched the show. We got a pretty extensive non-spoiler segment on there to kind of cater to anyone that is kind of like, okay, should I poke my head in the door? Should I watch Game of Thrones? Short answer, yes, but if you want to hear the long answer, absolutely tune into that episode. Our Season 2 episode is also done. It's been recorded. Andrew and I were actually in the same room for that. Very exciting, very exciting
episode, yeah.
And that is currently a timed exclusive episode for our supporters on Patreon. So if you listen to Season 1, had a good time with it, want to listen to Season 2 right away, you don't have to wait. All you have to do is support us on Patreon. Head to our website, watchreviewrepeat.com, click the premium tab in the top left, and then click the Become a Patron button. It's $2 a month. We'll get you access to that bonus episode, all our forthcoming Game of Thrones bonus episodes, whatever bonus episodes we end up doing after that, and early access to our regular episodes. So we encourage you to get on that. So Andrew does not have a fun fact, a big fucking surprise, but Henry has come prepared with a Captain Marvel fun fact, right?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people may or may not be somewhat familiar with her from comic book origins. She's been around for a while, Carol Danvers at least, and she's had so many different identities. In this movie, she's Captain Marvel, but I feel like maybe some people who read comics back in the day might know her as Miss Marvel, you know?
Okay.
And
they are one and the same?
Exactly. And I mean, she's been other things, and like Warbird and Binary and things like that, but I feel like Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel are her two big notable name that she goes by, and I gotta say, Captain Marvel is definitely better than the Miss Marvel. I can't imagine having a movie title now just called Miss Marvel. It seems a little silly.
Plus the costume.
I was gonna say, with
is,
the costume, like I just really don't see that happening nowadays, and for good reasons.
No. She'd be wearing pants even with that Miss Marvel costume. They'd definitely make some adjustments with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think for the better. But she obviously has a very rich comic book history, and as we'll talk about in the movie, a lot of things they kept the same. They changed around a few things, nothing too crazy, but she's been on many different teams, obviously the Avengers with some tie-ins there, been working with some X-Men every once in a while, and I know our Marvel Cinematic Universe covered the Civil War, kind of the first one from the comic books, but then maybe a couple years ago, I feel like not that long ago, like 2-3 years ago, they had the second Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War 2.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then that one, if people are interested, is between Captain Marvel and Iron Man.
Ooh.
And there's like
I imagine he loses that, huh?
I won't spoil anything, but yeah, it's instead of Captain America and Iron Man, this time it's Captain Marvel and Iron Man not seeing eye to eye on certain things. And I think the concept is interesting. Maybe with like the original Civil War, maybe the execution isn't as great as it could be, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
Say, if anyone wants to get some more Carol Danvers, definitely check out the comics that she's in.
Yeah. It's also worth noting Carol Danvers is also not the only character in the Marvel comics that has sported the name Captain Marvel. Actually, for that matter, she's not the only character in comics in general that has sported the name Captain Marvel. True. Of course, long associated with DC and the character that is now known as Shazam. But over in the Marvelverse, was originally, I think, Marvel was the original Captain Marvel. It was a male Captain Marvel. I know.
What?
There's a certain subsect of people that are really wishing that movie had been made. Let's put it that way. But I think collectively we can say fuck those guys. Monica Rambeau, another iteration of Captain Marvel as well, and I think there's a few others. Maybe Phyla-Vell at some point, something like that. Some of the Vells. There's one of the Vells was a Captain Marvel. So it's a title that's kind of been passed around a few times. But I feel like Carol, with that Kelly Sue DeConnick run, and I want to say 2012-ish, somewhere around there. Like I think that's kind of been like the most iconic run for her in some time, both for the character Captain Marvel and for Carol herself. And clearly they found some inspiration, because that is very much what this movie version, the MCU version, takes a lot of inspiration from. So it's a little bit of we actually don't talk about comics that much on here because Andrew's not a big comic book reader, and I am a big comic book collector, but not a great reader. So I have a lot of knowledge, but not anything super recently, actually. So it's good to have a little bit of comic book goodness in there, because Lord knows we love some comic book movies up in here. We know that much.
That's
true. Okay, so we've got a lot of news to cover. I think we can do it at a pretty good pace, because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to Captain Marvel. At least I think we will. I have some things to say, certainly. But before we dive into probably upcoming films, TV shows, anything like that, I want to start out our news with somewhat of a more serious note. I say somewhat. It is a more serious note. I don't think that's a stretch to say. I want to say that Luke Perry he's an actor, most well known, I think, for his role as Dylan McKay, Beverly Hills 90210 back in the 90s. A little bit before my time, but he's also in Riverdale as Fred Andrews, Archie's dad. Pretty big role in that. He passed away 52 years old, suffered a massive stroke, and passed away, I think, within a few days after that. So definitely big shock. I think he was kind of the heartthrob character, as far as I know, on 90210, and I thought he was great on Riverdale, which Andrew gives me a lot of shit about Riverdale, and I don't blame him for that. But I think he was legitimately really great on that, and sad to see him pass away at 52. Yeah, agreed, way too young. So in other serious news, Alex Trebek. A man who I think up until this point many people just assumed was immortal and impervious to anything. Announced on Jeopardy, a longtime Jeopardy host. I feel like I don't need to explain that, but I did just in case. Hosted it since 1984. How about that? It's crazy.
I think he's been like the only host, hasn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, I think. As far as I'm aware, anyway. I mean,
he's an incredible dude. I've watched an extensive amount of Jeopardy.
I love Jeopardy. He announced that he has been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which I'm not a doctor, but from what I understand, the prognosis for that is not very optimistic. But he seems to have pretty good spirits about it. He says I think he has a contract that runs through 2022. So he said it's his goal to keep hosting it, because he's got to do it for 3 more years. So we hope that we hope that he has a successful recovery from that. Absolutely. I actually watched. There's Jeopardy on Netflix now. Interestingly enough, I just binge watched over the past few days the Tournament of Champions, one of the collections they have on there. It's pretty entertaining.
Is that the one with Ken Jennings? I think. Is that his name?
It's not. I think it's a more recent run than that because I think Ken Jennings was on there several years back. So I assume that I think it's the same concept.
Gotcha.
With people that had won. Some of them had won multiple games, and they brought him back for this big long tournament thing. Anyway, I'm excited because I'm at a time in my life where I can watch Jeopardy and get more than like 3 things right in the entire show. I mean, it's still only like 10 to 15 things right on average, but still, I'm like, hey man, I'd pocket like $4,000 in this episode. Not bad.
Pretty good.
Not bad. You know, some categories are more my shit. Some I'm like, ballet, not my thing. Don't know anything about that, but it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, again, I wanted to start on a serious note, and definitely big shout out to Luke Perry, rest in peace, and Alex Trebek. Again, we wish him well because I don't know, much like a world without Stan Lee, a world without Alex Trebek feels like a lonely place indeed, I would say. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about some news. We've got some good stuff. We've got maybe some bad stuff. We definitely got some bad stuff. I can confirm that. Let's start with bad stuff. Let's start with Hellboy. Start with the Hellboy trailer that we got, a Red Band trailer. Now you guys may disagree. Maybe you guys like this more than I did, but we had the regular trailer that came out. I want to say maybe a month and a half ago, maybe a couple months. I don't know, some time ago, and it was just like, ooh, this looks bad. And so there's this Red Band trailer, and you're like, okay, you know, maybe it's going to be a little bit more hardcore, rated R, blah, blah, blah. A little bit more edgy. And again, for my money, I think it just looks bad still. I really didn't get much Red Bandy stuff out of this. Like, there's some blood, I guess, you know, some monsters and swinging swords and blood's flying, but like, I
think he says fucking at the end, doesn't he?
Does he?
Sounds about right.
Okay, I think you might be right. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. But you can get away with the fuck in a PG-13, but I suppose not a Green Band trailer. Right. I don't know. You guys feel free to chime in. Thoughts on this Hellboy Red Band trailer we got?
I got kind of a hot take on the trailer that it looks dumb, but almost so dumb that it could be entertaining.
Yeah,
I'm kind of getting the like. This trailer kind of made me want to see it. Where it's just like, I don't really know what the hell is going on. It's like, this is so silly and just like, what the fuck's going on, that I'm kind of like, maybe I do want to see it. I'm not expecting it to be good by any means, but
I didn't see the Red Band in theaters for obvious reasons, but it was in front of Captain Marvel on IMAX, and on the IMAX it looked and sounded like, you know what, it's probably going to be a real shit movie. It looks like it's real shit. But there's a lot of spectacle here. I wouldn't mind watching this on IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of CG creatures and monsters and stuff like that. It looks, design-wise, it looks like a massive step down from either the Del Toro films, I would say. But
absolutely, yeah, it's not as personal looking, for sure.
I mean, yeah, I'll go watch it, you know.
It doesn't look good, to confirm.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
So I agree with you, but yeah, I can't get excited about it, like not even from a so bad it's good kind of standpoint. Like it very well could extend into that territory. Hell, it might even be good for all we know. It probably won't be, but it could be. But yeah, I don't. It just looks like such a disappointment out on the backs of the Del Toro films. I don't know, like
you just don't like it. It's okay.
I just don't. I think I'm just disappointed more than anything, and
That's fair.
and I'm still baffled that anyone besides her husband casts Mila Jovovich and things. But maybe she'll be good here. Maybe she'll be good. No, I
don't think it's likely.
Yeah, I think. Well, so I think when we did our How to Train Your Dragon episode, I started off with some bad news. So good news, quick! Someone get me good news. You guys got news on tap?
All right, go Andrew. You got some?
Midsommar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This.
But I don't know if it's properly. I don't know how to Midsommar.
I wasn't sure how to pronounce that either.
I think it's just Midsommar because
Swedish, right?
Because they kind of just replaced the word summer with like even like this summer. It's like I think it's still intended to be summer, so I'm just going to call it Midsommar because that seems to be
what it's going for. Translation from Swedish is Midsummer.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
so we're gonna call it Midsommar. That's what's up.
Hot take.
So yes.
This is coming from Ari Aster, the writer director of Hereditary.
Mm-hmm, yes, indeed.
And this is also written and directed by Ari Aster, and it looks pretty fucking cool. I'm pretty into it. I don't know what's going on with the Elephant Man, but something is going on, and it looks really weird. But it's really it's interesting because it looks really fucking creepy. But it's almost like there's almost like a symmetry with like the content that's going on and the vibes that you have, because it's all bright and summery and real nice. And whereas a lot of times you have horror films that are, they're kind of they're dark,
They almost exclusively take place at night. This seems to be the opposite. This is a horror film for all intents and purposes in broad daylight. That's seems novel to me. Maybe it's been done before, but I can't think of anything.
Right. So, definitely all over this.
Yeah, it looks very weird, very interesting. After Hereditary, Ari Aster's someone that I'm gonna say that I'm definitely in for whatever his sophomore film is gonna shape up to be. Which I guess I don't know if Hereditary was his first. I think Hereditary was his first film. Don't quote me on that.
No, I think he's written and directed several films.
Has he?
I
Okay.
Set out of my tab, but yeah, he's done like 4 or 5.
Okay, well, so it's not really a sophomore thing. But either way, Hereditary had my attention, so now this has my curiosity, and I think it looks pretty interesting. So looking forward to it, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror fan, and I finally just watched Hereditary maybe a month or two ago.
Ooh, what'd you think about that?
In broad daylight, by the way. It was good. I would say, like, I can definitely appreciate when a horror film is made really well and doesn't rely just kind of like solely on jump scares and things like that, but like just everything in the scene was very disturbing. So I thought Hereditary was very well done. Very good movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out. It's shameful, I know, but I'd like to rectify that at some point. Is it on Amazon or streaming?
It was on Amazon. That's how I watched it. Correct.
Interesting. All right. Well, sounds like we're all on board for Midsommar, however it's pronounced. I think we decided it was Midsommar. I decided that, and so it is. Henry, you got some news? Yeah.
Yeah, I got. Do you want the bad news? You want the good news? What do you want?
Do you have any bad news?
We went bad to good.
I got you some bad news.
Okay. All right. Let's hear the bad news.
All right. Well, the blockbuster hit of 2019, known as X-Men: Dark Phoenix, has a trailer.
Yeah, that was kind of shitty looking.
I've now seen in front of forgot what, but they're like playing in front of movies now too, and. If I just saw the trailer, I'd be like, okay, this is probably another just kind of whatever, not great X-Men film. But like hearing about things in the production of this movie, I'm convinced it's going to be some real shit.
I think I've heard like they've screened it like 4 or 5 different times for test audiences, and every time they've gotten like notes back of like this is the absolute worst. I cannot, I can't believe you've done this. Like that's like the gist of what they've said. And I don't remember. I think they reshot at least a good chunk of this. I want to say some of it, but leave it to fucking Fox. Basically on their deathbed at this point, about to be bought out, to shit out a fucking remake of X-Men: The Last Stand. The absolute stones on these guys. It's kind of impressive in some way, but this looks bad. I like Sophie Turner. She's cool, as some of the kids say, the cool kids say. But this looks bad. She does not look like she's ready to lead a film. Certainly not one directed by literally the same fucking guy that wrote X-Men: The Last Stand. I mean,
you thought Apocalypse was bad. Just wait for this one.
Yeah, I mean it's not directed by Bryan Singer, so that's probably the one check you can put in the good things category for this. But this looks bad. Good riddance to this X-Men universe when it finally this was probably the last hurrah. We still don't know what the fuck's up with the New Mutants at this point. Maybe it's coming out, maybe it's not, maybe it's getting dumped on Hulu. Who's to say? But yeah, this is our probably last foray with. A pretty well cast Professor X and Magneto and McAvoy and
I do
Fassbender,
really like those
but
guys. Those guys are really good.
But man, they've been let down by some shitty movies of late, and this appears to be no exception. I also like how they're basically just confirming that they're going to kill Jennifer Lawrence in like 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Like she's like definitely dead within like 20 seconds of the trailer. I mean,
Who's that pale lady? Do we know who that is?
Yeah.
Is that like the embodiment of Phoenix Force?
Well, I think it's supposed to be Lilandra of the Shi'ar Empire, which is part of... that was what I read. I don't know if that's actually still true or not. Portrayed by Jessica Chastain, who is actually quite great in her own right. So, I mean, they get talented people in these fucking movies. There's no doubt about that.
They pay them.
I mean, they pay them. That's for sure. But, I think... as is the case with Sophie Turner, as is the case with Nicholas Hoult, as we'll talk about later in this episode, they have some other projects that are probably better suited for their talents, I would say. This does not seem to be a showcase in any way for them other than, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some explosions and shit. There's a train derailing at the end, thanks to one Jean Grey.
Floating M14s.
Mm-hmm.
Guns and shit. That's cool.
Yeah.
Head crushed with the fucking helmet. That's cool.
Veins, so it's going to be shit.
Glowing veins.
I think it's safe to say this is going to be bad. We'll probably see it. We'll probably have an episode on it because we're suckers for pain, apparently. But
you know what gave me goosebumps in the movie theater? I got the Lion King teaser again.
Okay. I was like, it's sure shit ain't Dark Phoenix related.
I got I know this is on going on derailing here. You talked about derail.
Okay. That's all right.
Okay.
I get it.
Lion King teaser gave me the goosebumps. Real good.
Yeah. We should be getting some new Lion King stuff. I would say with Dumbo. Dumbo is my guess. Goodness. And that's the end of this month.
I'm going to be a weeping mess. I'm going to be a sobbing fucking mess in that movie theater.
That movie's going to make so much money. It's going to be stupid money.
If there isn't a song with Beyonce and Childish Gambino, I'm going to be upset. It can be an original song. It can be an old song. I don't care.
But we need to both sing songs, right? Okay.
Give it to me.
Good call. Yeah. All right. Any last minute thoughts on Dark Phoenix? Going once, going twice. Not sold.
It's just sad because there have been good X-Men films, and like even as far back as like Days of Future Past. Logan's like kind of its own thing, but
right, yeah.
It's just sad where the series is going because they've shown that they can make good films, but they also can make some shitty ones.
I can't remember the last X-Men movie that I really liked.
Well, are you counting Logan or not? I guess that's the question.
No, Logan was incredible.
Deadpool, are you counting Deadpools?
Okay,
I mean,
no, I didn't count it. I'm talking just X-Men proper.
Days of Future Past, I think.
That's the last one for me.
Would be the last one for me, yeah. Which that was 2014, I want to say. So it's been half a decade. Yeah. You know?
But not too long.
No. But I'm ready for the door to close on this universe. Can't wait. Ready for Kevin Feige to get his grubby mitts on the X-Men property, and we look forward to that. I think more than we look forward to Dark Phoenix. At least I do.
Yeah.
So there's that. I've got some good news. Oh, Andrew just clapped. Andrew might have some good news. Do you have some good news? You want to come in with some good news? Or bad news, whatever you got. You got something.
I'll give it to you. I will.
I saw an excited face. So tell me what you got.
I'll tell you what I got. I have a Tolkien teaser trailer.
Yes.
I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, so this is the other property I was talking about with Nicholas Hoult. He's Beast in X-Men, and he's also J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Silmarillion.
Yeah, and this is going to be directed by Dome Karukowski.
That looks right from this. Yes, May 2019 is when it's coming out. Yeah, and it's I guess it's basically showing the man behind the stories. Where he found his inspiration in World War I, and
the way they inlaid a lot of fantastical things into modern. Not modern, but like his present day situations, like he's fighting in the war and stuff. There's this explosion. It looks like the Balrog almost in the flames. She's like, oh fuck, that was really cool, And you got those people riding horses. They're riding horses fighting in the war, but he visualized, like fucking knights and shit. It looks really cool.
It does look interesting the way they're kind of sewing those two worlds together. Because I feel like you could just have a straight period piece that doesn't have those flourishes, and I don't know if that would be as interesting. So, I thought it looks good. Nice top of the bill cast. Nicholas Hoult, Lily Collins. I like both of those people, and I thought it looks good. I'm interested in it.
The director, he's coined of one of Finland's most successful film directors, having won over 30 festival awards, and directed 6 feature films. But I've never. I mean, I guess probably just because they're all Finnish films, I guess. But I've never heard of them. So
can't say I'm familiar myself. But,
really interested to see what he's got going on here, man. Pretty excited about it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that familiar with Tolkien's life, so I wonder how much of this is going to be dramatized. Obviously, like all these kind of movies, get changed a little bit just to make it more cinematic. But I'd be curious to see how it compares to his real life. I don't know. Overall, it looks good though. I check it out.
Yeah, I think so too. I have good news. It's totally fine. Good news is good news, as the wise man says. I don't know what the wise man is. I don't know his name. I don't know what he's doing, but he said it once upon a time, and again, so it is. Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. That sounds vaguely familiar. What? No. Come on, we just exposed ourselves to a lawsuit. It's fine. We're a parody, is what it is. So we're fine now. I think that's how it works. I don't take intellectual property. Someone who wasn't familiar with your with Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow was wondering, like, does that have anything to do with the shampoo, like rinse, slather, repeat? And I was like, no. No, yeah, that's not where they're going for. But I mean, I guess it's the same fundamental concept, just applied to the bathing process. So. Yeah, we'll take it. Edge of Tomorrow. WB says, we want more. We want a sequel. That's what WB says. And they say, we want Doug Liman, the director, to come back, and we want Tom Cruise,
the cruise missile,
to come back, and we want Emily Blunt.
Oh, no.
The Blunt missile to come back.
Yes.
So I don't know that there's much more detail on this other than literally like WB is like, the time is now. We have to make this movie again. We're going to market it in a way that it doesn't bomb again is probably what they're thinking.
It's such an incredible movie, though. The first one is so fucking incredible. Oh.
Yes. So, okay, here we go. Matthew Robinson is a man that pitched a take for a sequel, and WB liked it so much that he said, write it, my man.
Wow.
Write
Lord
it, my
have
dude.
mercy, that's strong.
Okay.
So that's what's happening. So they're writing a script for it, and like I said, the anticipation is they want to bring everyone back, but that is not a sure thing at this point. But we hope that does come to fruition. I think you gotta bring Cruise and Blunt back. Like director, I think Doug Liman coming back would be great, but I don't think that's a need. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt have to be back to really sell me on this project. But I'm fucking in. If they can get those two on board. That's enough for me, and hopefully everything else comes into shape, as we hope it would. But that's all I need. That's all I need. So very good news. We will anxiously await that. Anyone that has not seen the film Edge of Tomorrow, do it, and also listen to our episode we did a while back with our good friends over at Ink to Film. The Ink to Film podcast. We did they read the book that was based off of the light novel All You Need Is Kill. It's a Japanese novel, and they did a book episode, and then they did a movie episode. We joined them for the movie episode. It was a lot of fun. So have a crack at that. Who's got some more news they want to talk about?
Speaking of book things,
yes.
I recently completed an audiobook called Good Omens.
Yes, another audiobook.
Written by Neil Gaiman. And we recently got a trailer.
And Terry Pratchett.
There's another author, but okay.
Do what now? What did I say?
I said and Terry Pratchett. I helped you out. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, fuck it. Anyways, there's a show coming out on the Amazons called Good Omens, and we got a full on little trailer there for you.
Sure did.
So, as two folks completely not familiar with the source material, what's your guys' hot takes on Good Omens trailer? Curious to hear what you have to say.
I've read a few Neil Gaiman things. I have not read Good Omens. It's definitely on my to-do list. And I like what I've read from Neil Gaiman. I like some David Tennant, and this trailer was kind of all up my alley, just kind of looking weird and British, and David Tennant. So I'll be checking this out. Yeah.
Yeah, looks very weird. That is very much a certainty with this. I like the cast a lot. I like Michael Sheen. I like David Tennant. It's got my boy John Hamm. So that's enough for me, of course. But yeah, it looks. I like the general premise of it. It looks interesting. I mean, the whole vibe of it just seems very eclectic. So I'm curious to see how that plays in like a full episode format. But it seems like the impressions I've seen seem to say that it's pretty in line with the source material, but I am in no position to comment on that, so I leave it to you.
I think they're definitely taking certain liberties in certain things, but I think overall they did a really good job of, because the book's fucking bonkers. It's all over the place. It's fucking weird.
You recommend the book?
I do. I highly recommend the book. I thought it was. I mean, I didn't read it. I listened to it.
No, that's fine.
But I can tell you that I was riding around in my car, and every time it was on, I found myself laughing. At some point throughout my car ride, I was laughing about something. I think it's really well written. So I'm all about the book. It's going to be the third Neil Gaiman book I've listened to. Cool. I really enjoy his stuff. But in regards to this one, the show, I think it's something to really look forward to. I think it's going to be something real special here. I think it's going to be pretty cool. So that's my good news. Nothing but good news from me tonight, guys.
Good news.
You've been a good man.
For good omens.
Good news for good omens, as a wise man once said.
Good news with good omens. Maybe the wiser man said that.
Yeah.
The wiser man with more gooder grammar said it.
Gooder grammar.
Okay, Henry. I think we come to you now.
Yeah.
I know you've got some good stuff for us. Some great stuff. Maybe the best stuff. I don't know.
Trust me.
Well,
I
it depends. The greatest. They got the greatest stuff.
But maybe I do, because out of God damn it, how do you pronounce that festival? Southwest.
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
South by Southwest. Yes.
Okay. I always try to see SXXW.
No. Yes. Yeah. We just.
But anyway.
I've been to Texas enough times. We just call it South by Southwest.
A couple of movies have been coming out in recent reviews and things, and apparently Shazam has been getting some very good buzz, and the second trailer dropped recently. I'm sure you guys have seen that, and I don't know. I thought it looks very fun. Like, this is not what I'm used to from the DC extended universe. But
you actually forget it's part of DC. Like, it looks I'm real excited.
I'm pretty excited for this. Like, this looks like a lot of fun. It's in Philly. Like, I
mean, I agree with like the tonal departure kind of thing, but like this thing is littered with nothing but DC references and kind of throughout. So I feel like it's. I mean, it's literally in a fucking toy shop with Batman and Superman around them. I think there's a cyborg toy in there, but
it's a big departure. It feels like a very different.
It definitely seems to be the most comedic picture they've made to date. But I felt like Aquaman was definitely a step in the right direction. Wonder Woman was really the first step in the right direction, but certainly a more serious tone. But Aquaman was kind of like this, goofy fun type thing. I mean, it was,
just the marketing was shit. This is good marketing.
Yeah,
I think this is good marketing.
That's a good. Yeah, one of the few DC films that the marketing leaves you thinking, "Oh yeah, okay." I didn't know they could do this. Wow.
Seems like every DC movie that's come out.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think this does look like a ton of fun. Yeah,
it's not a hot take, at least for me, to say that this one with the first one are my favorite DC trailers for movies that they released. DCEU, at least.
I would agree 110% with that.
At least for trailers.
The marketing definitely seems to be on point with this one. That's certainly a strength for it. I know I think there's social media, Twitter reactions and stuff like that from critics, mind you, not from people that went to early screening. We don't trust fan reactions. We trust critics' reactions for the most part.
Yeah.
And they were all very positive. Said it's a very fun movie. I don't have any poll quotes at the moment, but the general impression was very positive. So I'm feeling like the trailers are doing a good job of selling the movie because it's probably a pretty good movie to begin with. And Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. If only they did that more often, right? You know,
Yeah.
they've managed to do it a couple times now, so we can't totally fault them. But boy, they have really.
I laughed my ass
they've
off.
really
too,
fucked it up a few
trailer,
times.
Where he's
The jumping the building.
Bound.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking awesome. That was funny. Yeah,
It looks fun.
it does look like fun. Zachary Levi seems to be like he's having a blast. I like it. I like this a lot. Of course, this is. I mean, we're talking about Captain Marvel on our Captain Marvel episode. This is this is DC's Captain Marvel. I don't think he'll be referred to as that in any. No, I don't think he will because I think even the Wizard in the beginning calls him Shazam. But anyway,
the Wizard who's also in Captain Marvel.
The Wizard who is all yes, very confusing. Jamin Hansu. The man that was in Guardians of the Galaxy and then was in Captain Marvel and then was in Aquaman and then is going to be in Shazam. All his different characters, but it's
Lord
fine.
have mercy.
Dude's getting his paychecks.
He's getting his paychecks. He's earning them. So good for him. Good on him, we say. Looks like fun. Really looking forward to Shazam. Comes out April 5th. Definitely looks like a winner for WB, DC, and company. So good for them. Good for them. Do they have another winner with the Suicide Squad? What do you guys think? Because I have some news on that front, but this is the James Gunn The Suicide Squad. It's different from Suicide Squad because there's a "the" in front of it, which, as we know, makes it very different.
Unless you change the name, you're not going to sell me. Like, you can have James Gunn in this. You can have fucking Tom Hanks in this. Like, this is not going to sell it to me.
Okay.
Tom Hanks would be a hot take. I don't know if you can agree with this.
You can have Tom Hanks as fucking Batman. I don't care. You're not
What if I told you that Will Smith is too busy being... Will Smith blew himself.
He blew himself.
He blew himself, so he's too busy over in Aladdin, so he's not going to be Deadshot in this. But what if I told you one Idris Elba is now in talks to replace him as Deadshot in the Suicide Squad? Does that move the needle at all for anyone?
No.
Yeah, I like Idris Elba, but that's not enough. It's not enough.
I mean, he's in Hobbs and Shaw, so I don't think he's certainly not above taking jobs where he's just doing some schlocky shit. Even though that looks like fun.
Hobbs and Shaw looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's still kind of just like, well, it's not exactly highbrow material, is it? You know, so yeah, you know, I think this is an upgrade personally. You know, I like Will Smith well enough, honestly, when he's not bluing himself, but. I too often when I see Will Smith, it's just Will Smith he's just playing himself, doing his own thing, like kind of like he doesn't seem to absorb a lot of characters. Like he's just Will Smith in it. Like when I saw Suicide Squad, it was Will Smithing about with some guns and some lasers and shit, you know, and like I don't know. I think Idris Elba. I mean, I think is an amazing actor. Luther is an often recommended show from us here at Watch Review Repeat, and for good reason. And he's a large part of that. And
yeah,
he's been pretty consistently great in every role he's taken, whether it's in something a little bit schlockier. He definitely gives it, 110%. So I don't know. James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, Idris Elba. I mean, I can't say I'm like super excited, but it's going to be better than the first one.
It can't be worse.
It cannot be worse. I think every time you say that, usually you find yourself surprised. It is literally impossible to be worse than that film, in my opinion. Well, maybe Fan Four Stick. Maybe that one was worse. Yeah. I don't know. That'd be a tough call. I don't want to revisit either to find out and make an actual determination. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's what I got. I have one more piece of news, but I'll hold off on that for now. Who's got some goodies? Who's got some goodies they want to share?
I got a real good one.
He's got some goodies.
So they're slowly putting out more things about our favorite Sega character, Sega staple, the face, one of the most famous video game characters of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog, and his new movie that I know we're all passionately waiting for.
Starring
Mr.
Jim Carrey
Eggman.
as the Eggman, as Dr. Eggman. Can't forget about that.
And I know Andrew will appreciate all the pictures of Sonic that I've been sending him. But please, just like everyone, go look up pictures from this movie, and it's I don't know if it's concept art or like it's actually like confirmed, but oh boy. Sonic looks like...
Oh, man. It is... Oh God,
It's gonna be ridiculous.
Oh, God.
It's gonna be bonkers.
I will say this. I will say this. If they manage to fuck Sonic this bad, they absolutely just fucked this design. There's no two ways about it. Oh my God, can you imagine what Jim Carrey's going to look like in his full getup?
Like with all.
Did you see Tails?
No.
I don't know. There's no actual picture of Tails from this, by the way.
There's not.
No,
That's a fake one?
a couple of people have made some memes where it's I think I know what you're talking about.
Fox?
Yeah. I was just like, I mean, they're not wrong, but it was just a meme, just kind of capitalizing how bad it was.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
No, please don't.
I almost hope they go with that. That would actually be pretty great. But man, this looks this is such a bad design. The proportions don't make any sense. The weirdly human body is fucking horrifying. The eyes are all fucked. Everything's fucked about this. I've seen multiple mock-ups of people like, why don't they just do this? And it's like a million times better. I'm like, how do these people have their fucking jobs? Like they put this shit in front of like an exec somewhere, and the exec was like, hell yeah. Like
That's a good starting spot right there. Yeah.
I just absolutely, just positively do not fucking get it. But I mean, it's gonna be such a fucking train wreck. You bet your bottom dollar we'll be there watching this.
Day one,
November
day
8th,
one on
2019.
Jim Carrey, Dr. Eggman, shit Sonic.
I feel bad giving money to this film.
Sonic, I don't know if you guys know this. I think Henry will definitely get a kick out of this. Sonic to be voiced by one Ben Schwartz, a.k.a. John Ralphio Saperstein from Parks and Recreation, which is pretty awesome. Oh, yeah!
I mean, like, I'm all board for that. I'm not gonna lie.
It's going to be so funny. It's going to be so good.
It's going to be the greatest comedy of the year without being intentionally a comedy.
That is a very valid prediction. I cannot disagree with it. Well, Andrew, do you have an actual legitimate intended comedy to talk about? I think you do.
Cobra Kai.
I want to say do. That's right. You do.
And that movie or that show on the YouTubes. We got a first look, not another. This is the first look.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks good.
That's season 2. I should say. Season 1 has been up on YouTube for I guess yearish, something like that right now.
Yeah,
so season 2's coming to YouTube Premium April 24th, just over a month away. And Andrew and I, we talked about this on one of our episodes. Definitely go listen to that. But this was a fucking great show. It was,
it's one of the best shows of the year, I think.
Made both of our personal top 5s, so we were big fans on this. An amazing continuation of the Karate Kid film franchise, and season 2 looks to be no exception. Very, very excited to see where these characters go to. The rivalry between Daniel and Johnny looks like it's climbing. It's climbing. Yeah, it's not stopping anytime soon. So really looking forward to this one. Henry, you have not watched Cobra Kai. Is that correct?
That's
Which
true.
is kind of fucked up. You're the only one with the YouTube thing.
I have YouTube Premium.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
I was in YouTube TV, and I haven't seen it, but I did watch the season 2 first look, and it looked pretty cool. And I mean, I hadn't seen that much footage of season 1, so seeing Daniel-san and all the some of the original actors come back was pretty cool, I gotta say. So, maybe this will get me to check it out. I got a lot of things on my TV plate, but this kind of jumped up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's I think it's pretty short overall. I think it's 10 episodes, each under 30 minutes, so it's pretty easy to burn through them.
Yeah.
I know I watched it twice, and it's just not a lot to get through, which is probably partially the reason why I did that, but also because it's really good too. That helped a lot too. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. So, Cobra Kai, get on that if you have YouTube, or I think there's a trial thing. I think that's what Andrew and I did when we watched it. So I think we'll have to pay this time, unless maybe we'll use the other person's email account. That's a good plan. Or we'll use Henry's account.
Right? I have it.
Yeah. I think that's what we'll do. All right, so we have a couple pieces of news left. I know we've been running along here, but we're just having a grand old time. I'm going to talk my piece of news, and I think Henry will close with some of the most exciting news, legitimately most exciting news, I think, that we have to talk about this episode. Arrow is ending.
Yeah,
the end has come for Arrow. Season 8 will be its final season over on the CW, Andrew's favorite network on cable. And it's going to be a truncated season as well. 10 episodes is what it's going to be. A lot of messages from Stephen Amell, a lot of the cast kind of, expressing their gratitude for being able to be part of the show for as long as they were, and expressing some sadness at the show ending. But I feel like it's probably been a long time coming with this one particularly. It's had a lot of ebbs and flows in terms of quality. It's gotten real shit at times and pretty decent at times. I myself still well behind on all the CW stuff, and it
did have decent high points though, I think.
Yeah, it did. It did absolutely. But it had some serious fucking low points.
Rock bottom lows.
It sure did.
Below sea level.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it sounds about right for it to end when it's going to end. So my understanding, I don't think this has been officially confirmed, but they're doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover next season. And so it seems like the last season will basically be part of the lead up to that, and then at some point that'll be it for Arrow. So to me, that almost implies that Oliver Queen might not be long for this world. I could definitely see that being the case, because in the comics, that's the arc where the Flash disappears, and so I could kind of see them doing maybe a bit of a role reversal with that. That'd be kind of interesting. But I mean, all the other stuff on the CW I think has been safe. It's all renewed. I think it's all getting full episode orders. Batwoman is in the pipeline, so you can almost see Batwoman as like a replacement type show. Kind of more dark, gritty corner of the Arrowverse. I could definitely see it kind of filling that void. But I'm a big fan of Stephen Amell. As much as the show has had some problems here and there, I've enjoyed it for as much as I've seen, which is not its entire run at this point. Yeah. So I'm not sad to see it go. I wouldn't say that, but I hope they end it on the right note. I will say that.
I thought Arrow was gonna end 3 years ago because the whole
they caught up to the island
from season 1. They're like, I was on a desert island for 5 years, so I'm like, okay, perfect. You have 5 seasons to tell 1 year a piece of like your story on the island and your story in present time. So I wasn't that surprised they went past 5 seasons, but I was kind of hoping that they would be able to close everything in a nice, neat package, which I think would help. And I always appreciate when a show can end concisely. But I feel like now that it's ending, I'm more motivated to go back and like finish watching it, because I know eventually it will come to an end, and I can kind of close that.
Yeah. Do you know how they handled the fact that there's no flashbacks in this current season?
No.
They're doing flash forwards.
Flash forwards.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's something.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it where they've aged everyone up or whatever. And
all right.
Anyway, I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. I knew Andrew would.
In traditional CW fashion. Well, we can't go back. We need to move forward.
Yeah. Well.
CW. They even fast forward them off the island. They put them in fucking Tokyo and shit. They take them off the island. I don't.
Well, they I think it was in Hong Kong, but they brought him back to the island. He's like, I got to get back to the island in time for season 5.
Oh, shit, I left the island, but
I want to go back.
The island, so I got to go back.
For 5 years, I was stranded on an island, except for the 1 year that I wasn't. But we don't like to talk about that.
But I had him drop me back off. It's okay.
Also, I was in Russia for another year, but it's fine. Sure. Don't worry about it.
That fucking show. Oh, anyway.
Also, I trained with the League of Shadows for one of those years, too.
Really? I wasn't really on this island. I was globetrotting for the 5 years is actually what I was doing.
Actually, it was quite a nice vacation, I must say. Yes, Henry, take us out with our news.
Yeah. All right, so best for last. So I know you two are excited because you're doing a rewatch from day 1 of the grand Game of Thrones. And after much anticipation and after many years of waiting for George R. R. Martin to finish his series, he has still not finished his series. But we are getting the last season of Game of Thrones, and the trailer is out for season 8, coming out very soon. And
God, it's sooner than I realized. I will say that, man. April 14th. We're not even done with season 3 yet. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Which I think we're trying to time it so that we're caught up for the final episode but I don't know. I might have to go back and forth and watch as I go. Otherwise, I'll probably get spoiled and everything, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, it's good that it's sooner rather than later. I mean, it's a shorter wait. That's probably exciting news for most people, I would say. But yes, the trailer, our first real. We've had like 2-second glimpses of shit here and there, but teasers. Like this is legit 2 minutes of footage here. A good 2 minutes of footage, I would say.
Yeah.
And in the sense that it's a good hype, kind of hype reel, but not enough that I'm like, oh, I really wish I didn't see that. I didn't feel that way about anything in this trailer. I'm like, ooh, I didn't want to see that. Like, I felt like it did a good job of, whether it's just because I don't know if they're taking some stuff maybe from the first few episodes of the season and maybe not really showing anything for the last part of the season. I don't know, but it seems like they did a good job of not giving away everything. Because I assume there's plenty of surprises in store with their season. I mean, there has to be.
Does John ride the dragon?
Oh, he already rode the dragon.
Oh, oh my. Oh my.
Good delivery, Henry. Very nice.
That was actually pretty well done.
But
compliments.
I feel like this is kind of in the same boat as Avengers Endgame. Like, if you're in it, you're in it. Like, we don't need to show you anything else because you're already on board and this is the end and you need to see it. And to make it even crazier, the weekend that Avengers Endgame comes out is the same weekend as the Battle of Winterfell. Freaking like 90-something minute episode of the biggest battle sequence ever filmed on television. That took like several weeks and like a gajillion number of people to be in it. Like, this is the biggest battle you will see. And I don't know if you heard anything, but I hope that they air this in theaters somehow, because I would love to see this on a big screen.
Yeah, that'd be great. I loved when they did that with the IMAX stuff a while back. That was awesome. Yeah, it really seems like they're just delivering 6 movies, like some like mini movies, and so that would be fucking sublime if they managed to do that at some point. So
was it all the
fingers
episodes
crossed
for the season, or was it just like the premiere or the?
No, it was the final 2, I think, of season 4. I think it was the Watchers on the Wall was like the big. The big battle episode that they put up on the IMAX, and then whatever the last episode after that was called. I remember seeing it. I saw it when I was in LA, but yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, Game of Thrones looks awesome. You guys have any other thoughts on it? No. I mean, we're talking plenty of Game of Thrones, obviously. Like I said, and I don't really feel any need to speculate on it too much. It's so close, and I don't want to accidentally spoil myself on anything. So, Henry, any closing thoughts?
No, I would say I'm gonna be here day one, but I'm technically not gonna be here. So I need to make sure I have a way. I need to make sure I have a way I can see this, because I am not getting spoiled, and I don't even blame people who post stuff on Facebook, because I feel like Game of Thrones just like become a part of the norm now.
I think so. Like, I think he. I gave it like a day. You know what I mean?
Should. I think the respectful thing is to like give it some time. Like, people have shit to do sometimes Sunday.
Like, I get the fervor, I get the excitement, but you got to be somewhat courteous at the same time.
If you are a fan and you're up to date, I would definitely stay away from social media if you're not watching it, because I assume every episode is gonna be jam packed with just crazy shit, like big time stuff happening, like people dying, things happening left and right. So I think this is gonna be a huge event, all of these episodes.
You got to be a part of the human race.
Of the human race, that's right.
Part of the human race. Is that right, Andrew? You want to be part of the human race? Watch Game of Thrones? Does that sound about right?
Join the human race and watch Game of Thrones.
There you go. There you go. And listen to our episodes. Just get a quick little plug in there.
Yeah. You can have it both ways.
So that is our news for this episode. I think at long last we must talk about some Captain Marvel. I made it sound like a bad thing. I'm fucking stoked to talk about Captain Marvel. I'm excited. I think we've all been excited for this movie for
to talk about Captain Marvel.
lots of months. They announced this thing like that big Phase 3 announcement that Feige did way back when even like Inhumans was part of the film. Like, you remember when Inhumans was supposed to be a film? Man, those were the days. But Captain Marvel. We're talking about Captain Marvel. We're not talking about Inhumans, although we do have an episode on that as well. Listen to it, but do not watch it. I will say that. So Captain Marvel was written by Anna Boden, Ryan Fleck, and Geneva Robertson Dwart, directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, stars Miss Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Jamin Honsu, Lee Pace, Lashana Lynch, Jimmy Chan, with Annette Bening, Clark Gregg, and Jude Law.
Go ahead, sorry.
And Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers becomes one of the universe's most powerful heroes when Earth is caught in the middle of a galactic war between two alien races. Box office.
Yeah.
Let's talk some box office. The box office breakdown. Very, very good numbers for Captain Marvel. Fucking stellar numbers for Captain Marvel. I would go as far as to say. I also want to bring attention to the Deadline article, the box office article, because my God, is it a scathing takedown of the incels that were rallying against this film, review bombing it, et cetera, et cetera. And it was basically like, yeah, this movie made a lot of money, so go fuck yourself. And it was basically that, but like written by a professional in a professional way. And I'm like, this is everything. It's great. So Disney's calling this at $153 million for the opening weekend.
Nice.
Expectations are is it might tick in a little bit higher than that, probably just under 160, but maybe 156, 157 range. We'll see exactly when the actuals come in. We're recording this on a Sunday, so of course we don't have the actuals because, well, there's still some screenings going on right now. It's hard to say, right? But that's an exceptional figure. It's the third highest opening in March ever, behind Disney's Beauty and the Beast and one Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. That's what they'll point to. That's the goalpost that they'll shift to. Is like, well, it didn't beat Batman v Superman. It's like, well, it's two Justice Leagues, so there you go. It's the seventh highest debut in the MCU. I think it's the second highest solo film. Sort of, I guess. So like Black Panther made $202 million in February of last year. Like Iron Man 3 is like a solo film, but it's a sequel film, so it's probably the second biggest non-sequel kind of origin story type thing.
Right.
But really, really, really great numbers. It's surpassed the entire domestic take for the Incredible Hulk in one weekend, and Owen didn't do so well, we should say. Internationally, it is kicking ass and taking names. $302 million worldwide take, which gives you a total of $455 million global total. It's the fifth highest international opening of all time.
Wow.
Ever.
That's crazy.
Even higher than like The Last Jedi. So it's really, really, really great. Almost $90 million from China alone. Chinese are loving it. $24 million from South Korea. And obviously it's playing well in several other territories. So this appears to be stampeding its way towards $1 billion based on those opening numbers. We'll see how the legs play, in the coming weeks. But I feel like the cinema score was an A for this. So, Rotten Tomatoes user scores aside, seems to be getting very good marks from the masses. Overall, seems to be pretty enjoyable films. People seem to be liking it. So I think we can expect this one to continue to play pretty well. Pretty soft competition next week as well. Actually, for most of March, really, I think there's pretty soft direct competition. I think Dumbo is probably the next biggest thing that will probably knock it off its pedestal. Us comes out in a couple weeks. I'm just not sure that that's going to be a big direct competitor.
Right.
But I think it'll be good, if the reviews are indication or any indication on that one. So that is the box office story for Captain Marvel. A rousing debut. She has flown higher, further, and faster than
very nice
than a lot of other movies, for that matter. So let's talk some non-spoilers for Captain Marvel. Well, I'll begin since I'm already talking. I wait for it. Really liked this movie. I had a good time with it. I guess maybe a good place to start, because Henry and I actually have seen it twice now. Mm-hmm. We saw it together both times.
The IMAXs?
Both times in the IMAXs, that's correct. our presentation was absolutely fucked the first time we saw it. It was so disappointing. Oh, I'll tell you what happened. Don't you worry, bucko.
You got him started.
So basically, we got there about 7:10 for a 7 o'clock showing. Now, this is an AMC, mind you. We expect there's going to be 25 to 30 minutes of previews, AMC bullshit, whatever.
Right.
So we got in about 7:10. We saw the tail end of the Dumbo trailer, and then boom, it's like right into the AMC shit, and the movie's starting right away. So it's like less than 15 minutes of trailers, and I'm like,
wow.
I shouldn't complain about that because in and of itself, that's actually a pretty good thing. But when you're not ready for it, it was very startling, and there was a lot of people still shifting around. People were not in their seats. People were, it was like, you had to stand up to get people to go in front. Like, it was just a big clusterfuck because people are conditioned to walk in 30 minutes late and be fine. And usually they are. That was not the case here. So that was a little bit disappointing. The bigger thing was that these dumb fucks did not set their house lights to the proper timing. So for the first literally 15 minutes of the movie, the lights were on.
Jesus.
And it was so hard to pay attention because it's literally lights shining on the screen. You can see everyone around you. You can hear people breathe. It was just not good. They eventually did go down about 15 minutes in. We kind of settled in at that point, but it really fucked the beginning of the movie for me. And so I didn't like the beginning of the movie because I was just like, I didn't know what was happening because it really, really throws you into things too. Which it's weirdly, having seen it a second time, I'll get to that. I think it's a good thing, but that was shitty, and the lights came on early, just to add insult to injury. About maybe 5 minutes before, maybe 2 or 3 minutes before the actual credits roll, lights come right back up, and it's just like, I don't know what the fuck these guys are doing. So our dumbasses went back to the same theater. Saw it in IMAX again a couple days later, thinking surely they won't pull that bullshit again. And they fixed one thing, one of three they fixed. So the trailer is exactly the same. We managed to get there a little bit late again, but in time still. They fixed the lights at the beginning. Probably the biggest complaint I had. They rectified that. That was great. Lights still came on early at the end, but so I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but. Just the absolute incompetence on display was frustrating to say the least, and this is coming from someone that worked in theaters for many years of my life, so it's especially personal for me, and it really, I mean, you're probably this. I think we're all kind of the same way. Like I know people that wouldn't give a flying fuck about anything like that, but my God, is it infuriating for me?
Yes.
Oh man, you could probably tell that I was not a fan of the way they presented that film.
We had my trailer reel was quite long. But for 3 of the trailers, the projector was off. Yeah. So I don't know what the fuck. It's funny you're complaining about.
And you went today. You went Sunday, right?
Yeah, I went Sunday at 3 o'clock.
So they had
it's just like
3 days to get this shit together.
I was right on time, and there was there's probably a good 20 minutes trailers, but like I said, the first 3 of them, the fucking thing was off.
I mean, it's crazy.
The lights were off. It was very dark in that fucking theater.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like, how that would happen, like a bulb issue maybe, but I don't know. Like, I don't understand. Like, for me, it was like, these are all very easy fixes. It's not a complicated thing. I'm surprised they didn't load the bad boy up with 90 trailers because that's fucking, like, the big movies playing on your biggest screen and you're closing with Dumbo. Like, okay, all right. I mean, no insult to Dumbo or whatever, but...
I think mine closed with Dumbo too.
Really, I don't know. Maybe Disney's just going hard on the Dumbo, but it felt weird. It feels like it should be an Endgame or even a Spider-Man kind of closing it out. And I assume at least one of those played in front of yours. But
yeah, for sure. I got both of them.
Yeah, and to me that makes sense. I would think you'd want to close with one of those, but
no, I didn't get Endgame. I'm sorry, I didn't get Endgame, but I did get Spider-Man.
Anyway,
but
this is not talking about Captain Marvel, but I had to get it off my chest. We saw it twice. The experience was much better the second time around. I think I want to say that I liked the movie the first time around with like kind of thinking like, mid-tier Marvel, whatever. I liked it a lot more the second time.
Did you really?
Would go as far as to say that I really liked it the second time. I don't know if I was going to go say loved, but it's pretty close to loving it. It went, I'm not going to name numbers because we don't do that thing around here typically, but it probably bumped it up a solid point, at least in my books, with the second viewing, I would say. Henry was there with me. Would you feel similarly, like viewing 1 to viewing 2? Do you think it helped you at all? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
obviously presentation things were probably a factor there, but
the second viewing experience was definitely better. Like, I think knowing what to expect to helps certain movies, and I think it helped this movie, especially in the beginning. It kind of just stows you in, and I'm one of the ones that are familiar with the kind of landscape that they set up, but I think if you're not familiar with it, it would be very hard to kind of follow everything, or not very hard, but like, I don't know, they make it like in the beginning, they just kind of throw you in and you just go at it. And I think that once you know what's going on, it is a positive and it doesn't waste time just like explaining certain things. But if you're maybe not as familiar with the general universe, like you're like, who the fuck are the Kree? Like, what is this? What is that? You might be a little bit lost in the beginning. So I think a second viewing just in general can help make the story a little bit clearer in general.
It's interesting you guys say that, because I went in and I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I thought it was totally good. I thought it was just totally good.
Yeah.
So if you guys are really, really ecstatic about it after the second viewing, I don't know what it would contribute to. I mean, but yeah, no. It's interesting you guys say the second viewing comes in a solid point, if you will, better than the first viewing.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I honestly think it's just, for me, it's as simple as the fact that the first 20, 30 minutes of this movie played significantly better for me, because, and I point to this as probably one of the overall strengths of the film. It's a non-traditional origin story in terms of its structure.
That's true.
It's not Act 1 is regular blah blah blah, Act 2 is powers, right. Act 3 is badassery. You know, it really throws you right into the middle of things. Like, it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy for the first 20 minutes, you know, with the world that it is. It feels very congruous with that, and I didn't really expect it to do that as much. I think I kind of agree with Henry in the sense that I feel like this could be kind of, I don't know, it might feel a little out there right away, because it really does just kind of throw you off the deep end, which I think when I wasn't ready for that, that's kind of was just like, oh shit, like I guess I need to buckle in for this. Once I knew what to expect, once I knew to expect that, I was very game for that, and I loved the tone and feel of that. I don't think everything works in this movie. I think that the downside of that is I think the story of Carol Danvers gets somewhat buried in the way that the film is edited. You know, you kind of have to pull the pieces out for yourself. I think what's there is very interesting. It's very good. But I think in the way that they made this movie a lot more propulsive than most origin stories are, where they're kind of flat for a little while until they find their footing. This one kind of, you know, goes for it from minute one.
Right.
But it sacrifices, I think, some of the storytelling aspects in the way that it doles out the character. I mean, it kind of lets you experience I mean, it wasn't a mystery for me. I pretty much knew most of like the character beats for Carol, kind of in general, but some of that might play as surprising to someone not familiar with the character. Maybe, I don't know. But I said I think overall was a strength to make it a little bit different, to make it set apart from your Ant-Mans, your Doctor Stranges, your Iron Mans, your Thors. You know, like those all feel very samey, very formulaic in terms of their structure.
Sure,
and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it does feel samey in this one. It very much felt like a concerted effort to be like, hey, let's do something a little bit different here, because we're now 20 movies in. We don't really, you know, that worked for phase one, but it feels very phase one. You know, when we rewatched phase one, it's just like, oh man, like sometimes it's hard to go back when we're, you know, watching in the Infinity Wars and like there's just whack ass shit happening, and it's like it's not so concerned with holding your hand. And this one to me felt less hand-holdy in terms of its approach, and I liked that. But again, I think that it has its own drawbacks that you could point to as well. But that's kind of, I liked the framing of it. I liked the structure, the editing of the film. I thought worked pretty well. Was it Brie Larson? I
really did like Brie Larson.
She's
a
great.
Very likable woman. She's very very awesome actress. Very much like her. But she's very cool. Very cool. Very cool. But I'd say I like some of the more nuanced things Like the when in the very beginning there, her fleet of ships set out to go on an adventure, right? And they shoot out of like this hexagonal thing, you know, and that's straight up out of the second
Guardians.
Volume 2. Mm-hmm.
second Guardians, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a consistency with that form of travel, which I thought was kind of cool. At least the stylistic approach of it, I thought I really enjoyed that, and the way that the title cards were handled for the planets and whatnot when they planet jump and stuff. A lot of that felt very consistent with the established.
The first 15 minutes felt straight Guardians to me, especially the second time through when I could actually see all of it. You know, I like that a lot too. I thought that was great. I mean, it made it feel like. Another strength of this film is it feels very much like part of the MCU, but it still works on its own merits too. I mean,
right.
By virtue of being an origin film of sorts, it really does a good job of. But I think it does a good job of kind of towing the line of feeling like part of this greater thing that it is a part of, but also really kind of it still, I think, has its own interesting identity because it kind of. Like Guardians always feels like Guardians, like it has a very distinct tone, and this one kind of uses that, and then it kind of goes in different places here and there, and it kind of it forges its own identity. I think the more it kind of moves away from that, and that kind of, in some ways, mirrors, I guess, the narrative arc as well, which so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, it was cool.
Yes, that was one thing that I appreciated that they did. I also appreciated the soundtrack. That the soundtrack was pretty fucking cool.
Very 90s.
Yeah,
Yes.
very 90s.
Some goodies in there.
And let's talk about Samuel Jackson and Agent what's his face?
Coulson?
Agent Coulson.
Agent Coulson. Yeah. What about that fucking de-aging shit, man?
Dude, Samuel Jackson looked good.
He looked good. I kept waiting for flaws. Like I studied that man's face, and it looked really fucking good.
That's some of the best like face CGI de-aging I've seen. Like, especially for someone who's a major character, like probably the second biggest character in the movie.
Absolutely.
He has a lot of screen time.
He had a lot of screen time. Yes.
He looked good.
Yeah, I thought Sam Jackson, the de-aging tech, looked better on him than it did on Coulson. Like, Coulson looked maybe a few years younger, whereas Sam Jackson legit looked 20 plus years younger.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, and it for especially for Fury, it was seamless. I mean, it was really, really impressive. Easily, I think, the most impressive version of this de-aging technology we've ever seen deployed in any movie, and it's amazing that it's not a movie that like shoots around his face. It's just like, oh
no, it's there.
Face the other way. It's just like no, we're just gonna linger on this guy's face. Sam Jackson looks good for his age. Let's not get this wrong.
Do you think it's contributed because
he doesn't
of
look
the
that
screen
good.
time that he's had? Do you think they just had a bunch of things to pull from?
Yeah, Henry and I talked about this briefly, and I think that's an aspect of it because there's a lot of reference material for him, and I think that you can also look at Ant-Man's the same way, where there's a lot of reference material for Michael Douglas, who I think is also a character in the brief time that we've seen Hank Pym de-aged. He's looked great as well.
Sure.
Michelle Pfeiffer we saw briefly de-aged as well in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think she also looked great. Also a lot of young Pfeiffer reference material. I think that's part of the key. I think part of the key is probably looking pretty damn good to begin with.
And the natural progression of the technology as well.
Yeah, and obviously I'm sure they tinker with it, as the years going on, and you can really, obviously they felt comfortable enough to make a central character in this film 100% de-aged.
I really don't think
it's really impressive.
If you've never seen Samuel Jackson before ever, I really don't think that you would not think that that's what he looked like.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Something else I really liked was it was just fucking balls to the wall, man. Whole movie. It was just It didn't let up. It was full throttle all the way through, and it was a lot of fun. It was a very fun movie. I don't think not all the humor landed with me. I don't think it was as I really enjoy Guardians humor.
Yeah.
Most of that humor lands, I think, fairly consistently. This humor sprinkled in here, I don't know if it was just too much or if it just was not as well written. I don't know, but some of that humor just didn't quite hit home with me.
For me, some of it, especially like the Star Force dialogue with like Carol interacting and like kind of having fun, it felt scripted. Like
Right.
it didn't feel like people having like conversations and her interjecting and being funny. Like she was funny throughout a lot of the movie, but like I think those interactions, particularly, a lot of it felt like attempts to be funny. And I guess that's usually comedy when it doesn't work. Is you look at it and you're like, you know. It happened in Guardians too. I mean, Taserface is for me the longest running joke that didn't really land after like the 17th time that Gunn pulled it out of his playbook. But for the most, I would agree. Like I think Ragnarok is probably the funniest MCU movie, and it's definitely funnier than this one. But also by design in some respects too, I would say. And this one, I wouldn't classify this as a comedy by any stretch of the imagination. But I agree with you for the most part in the sense that other MCU films have done it better, at least maybe done a better balance or something like that. But right. I thought that there was definitely some pretty good humorous beats in this one. Definitely landed with me. Definitely, certain moments definitely landed with both of our audiences when Henry and I saw it. You know,
I mean, there was
big
funny
kind of
things
fanfare kind of moments. But yeah. I see what you're saying though. Yeah.
I feel like I was the one of the three of us, at least, who wasn't completely sold on the trailers. I know, Andrew, you were all in since day one.
Mohawk Bay, day zero, baby. That was him.
I wasn't completely sold on the trailers, and like I like seeing Brie Larson go Super Saiyan and stuff, but I feel like it didn't give me enough story beats to be like, okay, like this is gonna be good. And so I was a little skeptical going into the movie. And I would say it definitely exceeded my expectations. But yeah, I think this was a good movie for sure. It doesn't feel game changing in the way that a Black Panther movie kind of did, or even a Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this is a very solid, good MCU movie. It's very fun. Like I think you can go into this and just enjoy it for the action, for most of the humor. I'll agree, like some of the humor didn't always get it for me, but in general, I thought it was pretty good.
Solid superhero movie.
Yeah, no, I think this is, I think this embraces the superhero element very well, especially in the very end, before we get into spoilers, but she goes very like superhero. It gave me a lot of, I don't know about flashbacks, but it reminded me a lot of Superman. A lot of very like
terms of power levels, certainly.
Yeah, like it very like I get that I feel like she was presented as the Superman of the MCU almost more so than Thor or anyone else was. Like she can just go fly out and she's like crazy strong and can shoot beams and like do all this stuff and like this is your Superman.
We're going to get into it, but I think I should have probably brought this up with the de-aging stuff. I thought some of the CG, I felt some of the CG looked kind of spotty there at one portion of the movie.
Towards the end or where?
Yeah, towards the end. I thought it looked kind of, I don't know. It just didn't look as polished as some of the other stuff that happened. But we can get into that
I would agree with that. Overall, there was some faces in particular in certain parts didn't look quite as like they were the scene like they thought they were far enough away from the camera that they get away with it, but you look closely enough, you're like,
It doesn't help that we probably saw in the largest format possible.
That's definitely true. Henry and I sat a little bit closer the second time around, so we were that much closer too. But I do agree with that. I think Infinity War still had better VFX overall, but I would say this is a good cut above the Black Panther VFX in my books. So I think Panther, especially in its third act, looked bad, actively bad at parts. And this one never had a moment for me where it looked actively bad.
No, just like little
it was just
here and there.
Just things here and there. Animations were slightly off, and stuff like that. But overall, I felt like it held together pretty well. And it's definitely a very VFX heavy movie,
exactly.
as any of these Marvel movies are for the most part. So, Henry, I'm not sure if we cut you off there. Did you have some other thoughts you were working on?
Yeah, no, like this one relied very heavily on special effects, like so I think it's a little harder to hide behind like non-perfect special effects in this movie, unlike some other movies. But no, I think it's a good movie overall, and definitely some good elements. We talked about some of the not as great elements, but I liked it. Yeah.
Just some last minute thoughts for me before we'll get into recommendation spoilers. I'm sure we'll have some good stuff to talk about there. I think, again, the structure of it somewhat holds it back. I think in terms of the characterization of Carol, I wanted a little bit more there. But Brie Larson fucking sold the shit out of everything she was given for me. I thought she was fantastic. Really, really, for the most part, I would say it really is the Brie Larson show, and that's great. Sam Jackson gets a lot of play here. He's fantastic here. Ben Mendelsohn, great role here. Past that, I think those are probably the three that get the most to chew on in terms of the script, in terms of what they're given.
And Goose.
Goose is
good.
He's a good little kitty, that's for sure. So I special shout out to those three, Brie Larson mostly in particular, because I thought, and for me, this should shut up all the haters that probably didn't see this movie because they were busy trying to promote Alita for some reason. Anyway, it's not important. We're going to downplay this female-centric movie by promoting the other female-centric movie that is soon to give all its money to Disney. Anyway, logic is not a thing to be found in that thought process, but it's fine. Soundtrack, the 90s soundtrack, I really enjoyed. I actually liked the score a lot, too. Pinar Toprak, first female composer for the MCU. I thought she did a really good job. The actual Captain Marvel theme I like a lot. Scores on Spotify as well, if you have any interest in that. But and my last thing is, Henry kind of sparked something that I didn't think to talk about until he said it. Don't worry about it. And that was the marketing, because I feel like the marketing did actually. It's good and bad depending on how you frame it. I think it's good in the sense that the marketing showed not that much from the movie overall. It concealed a lot of the good surprises from this movie. The bad thing is, I think that it didn't sell the movie as much as it could have. I think the movie's definitely better than the trailers indicated it would be. I think some of the later trailers were better. But so I liked, this is one of the few times I feel like in the MCU where I've been really surprised by certain things here and there. And I'm kind of the kind of person that follows along pretty heavily with trailers and stuff like that. I don't outright spoil things for myself, but I can usually watch the trailer a few times, piece things together. And there was aspects of that, especially in terms of the arc to be found with Carol particularly, but there were still a lot of surprises that I didn't quite see coming. Touches of humor I didn't see coming, and I thought overall marketing did a good job of holding back enough that it let me, even someone like me, be surprised. But maybe that was at the cost of underselling it to some people, which is not a big deal if it's Henry, because of course Henry's going to fucking see this movie. He's but. If there was any impact from that, it obviously has not been felt in the box office, which is good. I'm happy to report that. So that's mostly what I got. Well, that is all I got on non-spoilers. So let's move to recommendation. It's an easy theater recommendation for me. Say see it in IMAX if you can. It does have the expanding frame for portions of the movie to kind of fit the full IMAX format. So I know Henry and I tinkered with seeing it in Dolby, but I think we ended up going for the IMAX because it's hard to pass up having more of the movie, literally more of the movie to see. I think that's always cool when they do stuff like that.
Right.
I wish more movies took advantage of that, or at least put it on their fucking home releases. Looking at you, Infinity War. Don't worry about it. Fuck you. Yeah, easy theater recommendation for me. Biggest screen possible, loudest screen possible. Go for it. It's a ton of fun. I think it's a movie in some ways made for me. It's absolutely geared towards someone like me, but I think that this movie would probably play pretty well for most general audiences, even if some of it's a little heavy in the beginning. I think by the time it comes to something a little bit more approachable, a little bit more what you'd expect out of something like this, it's a very, very satisfying movie. Some might classify that as safe. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think that this is, if nothing else, solid Marvel fare. People like Marvel. if you expect, if you know what to expect out of that, this is absolutely that. For me, I think it's a touch above that, but I could definitely see it kind of just being, solid fanfare for most general audiences. And I think that's good enough for a movie like this. It's a movie carried by Brie Larson, carried by some spectacular visuals, even if maybe there's a little iffiness in, the actual technical details of that here and there. But I have no issues recommending this. How do you guys feel?
This is the story of a girl.
This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world.
And she does.
She looks so sad in photographs. We absolutely love her.
Shithead said, But anyways, I wholeheartedly agree. This is a movie to bring your family to. I think the IMAX theater that I went to at 3:00 on Sunday was pretty full. It wasn't slam packed, but it was pretty decently full for a 3:00 showtime, I think. And there were little children's in the theater, and they were all about the ride, man. They were cheering and they were excited, and it kind of felt really cool to see and hear people's little kids' reactions to stuff. I thought that was pretty neat, because sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's because I go to the movie theaters later at night or whatever, I don't know, but I very seldom do you hear those kinds of reactions and stuff across the theater, scattered throughout the theater, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, go see it the loudest and biggest you can, and I think you'll have fun with it, especially, if you don't like superhero movies, then this movie's clearly not for you, because it's very much a superhero movie. But it does change up the origin story formula a little bit. It makes it a little fun and exciting. It doesn't hold your hand, like you said. Kind of drops you off in the middle of this world and this adventure, and you're along for a pretty solid ride. I thoroughly think you should probably see it in theaters.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not already a fan of superhero movies, this is not going to be the movie that changes your mind and says, like, oh, okay, like, I need to see this because it's just out there. It's going to be nominated for Academy Awards and stuff. I don't think it's this kind of movie, but it's a very fun movie. If you like this style of movie, if you like any Marvel movies at all, I think this is definitely, you should go see this. It's one of the better ones. It's a lot of fun. Brie Larson's great. Samuel Jackson's great. Go see it.
Well, you heard it here first, or somewhere else if you heard someone else recommend you go see it. But we're officially saying you should see it, so get on it. Let's talk about some spoilers for Captain Marvel. Full spoilers for Captain Marvel. I'm going to start because I think it would not be appropriate for us to continue forward without talking about one Stan Lee and the tribute that he received in this film.
That was awesome.
Yeah, the Marvel Studios logo introduction was really great. Would have been great if I saw it the first time with lights down. I actually, Henry, I think we might have talked about this separately. I actually thought maybe it was like a separate introduction before the film actually started. I actually didn't even realize the film was properly starting at that point, again, because of the lights thing. Not to harp on an issue, it wasn't, it was fine, obviously. It wasn't a big deal. Fucking AMC. But it was really great to see that. Got a audible reaction out of the audiences both times we saw it. A lot of clapping for that. A lot of clapping the first time around in general. Some unfortunate timing for clapping, as we'll talk about later as well. But it was, it is nice to sometimes see that tangible reaction from everyone, to see people kind of enjoying that. And I thought the cameo was actually really well done too. When Carol kind of walks past him on the train, and he's reading the fucking scripts for Mallrats, and he's rehearsing his lines for Mallrats. I don't know if you saw this.
No.
Kevin Smith, writer and director of Mallrats, of course, and notorious for crying in front of every single superhero thing he ever sees in his life. Love the man to death, but he's a very emotional man, but I feel like this one is like, if you think whatever you think of Kevin Smith, but man, that's a fucking special moment for Kevin Smith to see the second movie ever made get fucking, literally sort of name dropped in a Marvel, one of the movie that's going to make $1 billion probably.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That
That's
is really, really
I had
cool.
no
So I enjoyed that they did that. And apparently I saw, I think originally there was supposed to be an exchange between Carol and, I like the way it plays out, it's like a very heartfelt, like she just looks at him very sweetly and kind of moves on. But I think originally it was a little bit longer than that. I don't know if there was interactions or something like that, but they said they kind of cut it to feel more like a tribute than
really
just
cool.
Your boilerplate Stan Lee cameo. But I felt like they did a really great job of honoring the man himself. It's we're now our first year without Stan Lee, so
that intro thing kind of I didn't get teary, but I kind of got like a slight little goosebump.
Yeah, same way for me.
It was like a little heart tickle, like a little nose tickle kind of feel. It was actually very nice. It was very good.
Yeah, it felt very genuine. It was really cool to see. I thought so too. Now we can properly move forward.
I want to talk about something.
Yeah,
okay,
let's go.
We want to talk about that. Let's do it.
So the Tesseract is that cube that holds which stone? The Infinite
Space Stone.
The Space Stone. Yes.
The Space Stone.
Mm-hmm.
So Carol gets imbued with a reactor that was powered up by the Tesseract. The Tesseract harnessed some of the excess energy from the Tesseract, right? Is that pretty much what happened?
That seems to be the implication, yes.
Okay, she explodes it and gets imbued with Tesseract or Space Stone energy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Right.
Okay.
Which actually, in a way, kind of does a good job of explaining why she's got some pretty radical powers. It's an interesting wrinkle, because it's not... I actually really liked what they did with her origin of her powers, because it's similar enough to the comics that you can see the inspiration, but it's still got an MCU kind of touch to it. Was there a follow-up question to that? I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my follow-up question, and this is speculation for Endgame.
Yes. Okay.
Do you think, because I was once I figured out what was what and how she got her powers and that it was because of the Tesseract, does she have the power of the Space Stone? Is she imbued with the whole power of the Soul Stone? Do you think that? Or, because she's very evidently she can just warp. She can just warp. She'd fly and fucking warp to wherever she wants to warp.
It's interesting, because she's not the first character that's been created through a Infinity Stone.
Adam? Right? Was Adam? No, Adam wasn't created through
Scarlet Witch.
I would say Scarlet Witch and the Vision are probably the two most connected to an Infinity Stone.
Stones.
The same stone, I guess, as it turns out. Whereas, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were created using experiments using Loki's scepter, which, as we later learned, housed the Mind Stone. And Vision has the Mind Stone in his forehead. Well, had the Mind Stone in his forehead. And we saw that Scarlet Witch could destroy the Mind Stone because of her connection to it. That would be the more interesting thing for me, is does Carol now have the power to destroy that? And if so, what impact does that have? Does she, if in a theoretical in-game type scenario where they're trying to destroy the stones the way they did at the end of Infinity War, does that sever her connection to the stone? What happens then? Like, I don't know. That to me is an interesting plot point, but it's like you can't really, I don't think you can depower her after a movie and then a team up movie. That doesn't really make sense to me. So that's
and that's just the thing, though. She received the power because it was from and
it was from the engine itself, not from not necessarily directly from the Space Stone within the Tesseract, because that was up in outer space, but it was clearly an energy source powered by it. So you could definitely.
And an interesting thing too is when she started to amplify her powers when she was in like the computer, her power started to resonate and it started to interact. The Tesseract started to glow.
Yeah, and she was absorbing some of the energy. You could see like the ship itself was actually kind of the light sources were flickering. Yeah. So maybe she just now has the power to absorb any energy source, and that you could look at that as maybe the way that she generates her powers, something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. Interesting things. It's really fucking interesting.
Yeah. I would say the Tesseract was not something I expected to pop up in this movie. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
Also, Sam Jones is a badass. He effectively had his eyes clawed out. Sam Jones. Did I say Sam Jones? Sam Jones. Sam Jones is a guy. Sam Jones is a guy who sold a car to. He's a fucking crazy ass old man. Sorry.
Good job on you, Sam Jones, for buying a new car. Congratulations.
Sam Jones is. Yeah,
well, it's a used car, really.
Probably edit that out for HIPAA violation or whatever. But.
What the fuck? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Anyways, hold on, let me check if it violates the Constitution. Jackson. Oh well, the fucking 7th Amendment, Bill of Rights says no go.
Samuel Jackson effectively had his eyes clawed out by a cat.
It was not a cat, as we learned.
It was not a cat.
It was a flarkin.
Right. But dude, he had his eyes clawed out, and he continued to hold it, and he's just he's very badass. He's a very badass.
Well,
dude.
I enjoy that he maintains the lie. He's Nick Fury. Even his secrets have secrets. So yes, it's very classified information to learn how Nicholas J. Fury actually loses his eye. It was a good resolution. I saw a lot of people speculate about that online. I think the initial, the obvious speculation was that most people knew that Ben Mendelsohn was also playing his boss in S.H.I.E.L.D., and so people were like, oh, he's totally going to get betrayed by that. But then I think later on, people were like, it's going to be the fucking cat. It's totally going to be the fucking cat. And I'm glad it was the fucking cat. Or Flurkin.
Yeah,
it was a Flurkin. Cool. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun... I thought this movie did a good job of sewing some fun MCU connections together. Like the Tesseract, I kind of had to piece out the timeline in my head, but it more or less checks out. It does check out. And that's another one. Fury in general, just Fury. Coulson, a little bit of Coulson was great. But also they brought back Korath, the Pursuer. Obviously, this is all in a prequel type setting, but
Ronan.
Before he serves Ronan, another character we see in this film before he's become a Kree radical. Although he
seemed pretty radical.
He seemed pretty, yeah. Well, he's doing it in a fish. His job is to bomb things, but he does it in an official capacity because the Kree are just fucking assholes. That's one thing I wonder. Yeah. And I've talked to a couple people, and it's like, is there any point in this movie in which you think the Kree are the good guys? Even though Carol very much is about the Kree, promoting the Kree, and I'm like, if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like that kind of colors your impression of the Kree. I guess if you remember that connection at all, but it's just when Jude Law, who's obviously evil, is consulting Ronan even over the hologram type thing. I'm like, I'm just getting a lot of evil vibes right now, and they don't totally hide that. They're not really trying to hide the ball too much, but I don't know. I wonder how that plays. For me, it was fine because I kind of knew all along, the Kree have, as far as the MCU has been concerned, never really been portrayed as noble warrior heroes or anything like that.
Here's a question, not to fucking derail your thoughts.
That's okay.
There's blue Kree.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then there's human Kree.
I think they're pink Kree in the comics, which are basically just human, flesh toned.
Are they different different races of human?
I think that's kind of the thing. I don't think the Kree really have a caste system, which you think.
I think not by skin color.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be a big deal, but there's definitely. Yeah. I think that's literally just what it is. It's just some have blue pigmentation for one reason or another because they're aliens, I guess. So their biology is just works that way.
Another question: Skrulls have the lined chins like Thanos. Are they from the same cut?
No.
They just have similar chins.
Yeah, and I actually think the design tried to de-emphasize that similarity because I felt like maybe they thought that there would be confusion of that sort. But MCU Thanos is of Titan, which
they still established Titan.
Is a planet and I think in a different system in the MCU, whereas it's actually the moon of Saturn in the 616 comics verse. But Thanos, basically most of Thanos' people look like regular people, and he was born all mutated and shit, and he was kind of ostracized for that. I don't know if that's totally the same in the MCU. They didn't delve into it that much. Like we didn't show baby Thanos or anything like that. But yes, we can definitively say that Skrulls very much their own thing. Thanos is a Titan. Whether the Titans end up mostly looking like Thanos and such, or if he was kind of different in his appearance than the other Titans were, I'm not sure.
I hope.
Gotcha.
I hope we get baby Thanos in the next movie.
Baby Thanos.
Maybe that's just me. I want baby.
Picture him looking like a baby Grinch, like a little baby
Thanos.
guy.
He's a little angry, and he's just like, "Fucking half the people. We can't do this." But
well, maybe we will. I don't know. We don't have to wait too long. That's a nice thing in game. Just over a month away. It's pretty wild to think about. But so we would talk a little bit about the Kree and Skrulls. I like the backdrop of the Kree-Skrull war. I thought that was a nice carryover from the comics, but they had a pretty different wrinkle to it in that the Skrulls. Usually, I think in the comics, Krees are assholes, but the Skrulls are also assholes.
maybe
and
even
that
bigger
was
assholes.
that was not
And
the
they've got
case.
it up for humans, right? Or
Yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
big kind of threat of Skrulls due to their shapeshifting abilities infiltrating Earth. And, they talk about that, like the way that it's framed is like the Skrulls are going to fucking infiltrate you because they can, like that's their thing that they can do. But here, the Skrulls are very much framed as refugees that have been, probably driven to the brink of extinction, scattered across the galaxy, and are hunted down by the Kree, and they just want a home. Like it's a really sympathetic portrayal that they get here. It's really interesting. I was surprised at how goofy they made some of them. But I actually thought it was actually really endearing, especially the second time through. It felt very Star Trek to me, actually, which I liked. And I think a lot of that is the prosthetic designs, which I thought worked pretty well overall. Sometimes you could tell that it inhibited their capabilities to actually enunciate, not necessarily enunciate, but actually act through, with their face. Like there was a couple times it didn't feel like the dialogue totally synced with how they were moving their lips and stuff like that. But they're aliens, so maybe that's fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really interesting depiction of the Skrulls. I thought that was really compelling. I thought Talos, I thought Mendelsohn in particular fucking just absolutely owned it. That was probably the one thing I think the marketing did a great job of not spilling the beans on, and I'm really thankful for that. I thought that it was, I loved it. I loved that whole quote-unquote twist aspect of it, of them kind of being the good guys. I know I expected the Krees being bad. I didn't expect that half, though. I think that's kind of what really kind of pushed it over the edge for me in terms of how I liked it.
Yeah, no, I like that aspect a whole lot because I went in this the marketing material tells me the Skrulls are bad. My background in comics tells me that Skrulls are bad. These Skrulls are easily the main villains of the movie. Maybe Kree play a part of it, but having the Skrulls be a part of the team in the end was really cool, especially Talos and showing his family and everything. I really like that part of it. I was talking to one of my friends. She was very upset that they used the Skrull science guy as basically bait during that one part. They were like, it's like, are you kidding me? They just threw him out as bait so that Jude Law can go and kill him. And I was like, I mean, I guess so. She was very upset being from a science background. She was like, you just don't appreciate your science guy, and you just throw him out, and he just gets killed. But no,
he did not know that the thing was in orbit. They could have figured that shit out.
Yeah,
a long time ago,
he's like, you're the science guy. You can do some physics. But no, I like the whole aspect. I figured there'd be some twists with the shape shifting. I like how they made some of the ones that were so obvious, Talos being the director. I don't know if he was director or Ben
I don't
Mendelsohn's
think
character.
so. Just whatever Fury's superior in S.H.I.E.L.D. was.
That was pretty obvious. So I'm glad that they didn't make that a whole big secret. They just kind of showed it and laid it out there. And but a few of the smaller twists, like the Coulson one, I thought was pretty cool. where
that
like
was good.
you're like Fury's with Colson in the car and just like doing his own thing, and all of a sudden Colson calls him. He's like, "Oh hey, I'm over here," and you're like, and then the whole audience is like, "Ah shit, that's not him." And that's kind of the first time that you get that kind of Skrulls can be anyone twist. So I thought that was well done and pretty fun.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was that particular one was done pretty well. It seemed like they got away from the shape-shifting stuff towards the end. I think more as the Skrulls kind of became the allies, but I think a lot of it was just, it wasn't so much as infiltration. It was, it was a lot of moments of like they're pretty out in the open on that ship when Talos reunites with his family. And I liked that aspect particularly. It really wasn't about finding the Tesseract. It wasn't about finding this power source. It was about him finding his family. I think that creates a real emotional core for that character, and one that I felt was earned. Felt really good, and it kind of helps sell, I think, the ending a lot of it, and how it motivates Carol to take the fight off world to bring, to basically help these people, find a new home. And theoretically that's, what she's been up to for the past 20 plus years. I felt that was a pretty natural explanation of that. So I liked that. I liked the Kree Skrull stuff. I thought was done really well. Talos in particular. Why would I turn into a filing cabinet?
You're just so insulted.
No. I'll give you $50 if you turn into a Venus flytrap right now.
That was good.
That was one of the humors that landed.
Yeah, that was definitely good.
Yeah.
I like the stick the foot up your ass one too. I like that one. Am I supposed to guess where
I'm supposed to guess where that is?
That made sense. She's an alien, Andrew, I have a question mainly for you, I guess, but obviously Colton.
Okay.
You've seen some of Brie Larson's like previous works, especially like the Room.
Yes.
And I felt like there were glimpses of this. I think she was great in this, but I think like with an actress like Brie Larson, you could have even like had more from her,
right?
And I think that's no fault of hers, but I think like you could have had
depth of.
I think you could have maybe had some scenes where you demanded a little bit more from her. And I don't think that's any disrespect to Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, but I do think that with someone of Brie Larson's caliber, because I feel like I got glimpses of it in the.
You catch it in like little interactions in between characters. I think you catch it the most. Just just the nuanced responses that she has to other people and what they're doing. I think that's when you probably see the most of Brie Larson, in my opinion. Yeah. More so than, just straight up her, like, tour de force actress skills. I think it's much more nuanced, but I think that's probably a result of her, the depth of the material here. I just don't think it's...
I don't think it's even more than that. It's a sense she doesn't know most of her memories for 75 to 80% of this movie. What memories she has, she's taught to suppress. She's taught to be emotionless. She's taught to be humorless by the Kree. So I think she doesn't really have like a big hurrah moment to, I think, be able to have any sort of major expression of that, other than I think the biggest character moment for Carol is when she confronts Yanrog at the end and tells him, "I don't have anything to prove to you." Yeah. And she delivers that with the right amount of bite. I think that fucking sells everything about her character for me. So I think there's nothing that I think she, everything that's written on the page, I think she gives it her all.
No, so I agree with that for sure.
Biggest moment for her was actually when she wasn't actually delivering the lines. One of my favorite parts of this movie is the way they stitched the dialogue and the way they stitched the audio. I really liked it, but it was when that girl's daughter was going over all the pictures. I really enjoyed that part. That was there. I feel like there's not a lot of. It's pretty much just like an actiony kind of movie, just gung ho. But there was that one little spot in there where it felt like it had. I thought it felt like it had a lot of heart, that moment in particular, I thought that was well delivered and well executed. My own 2 cents there.
No, I agree. I think the biggest character. Well, I said I obviously what I talked about with Jan Rugg, and that's the through line for her, for Captain Marvel, the hero. But I think the heart for Carol Danvers, the person, is Maria Rambeau and Monica Rambeau. And I like the dynamic between her and Maria particularly is really, really well done. She doesn't come into the movie until a little bit later, but when she's kind of visited by this ghost of her past, you really, really feel it. And I thought that was great. I thought Lashana Lynch in that role was great. And the moments between Carol, between her and Monica were also really, really great. It's their inspiration for the badass costume redesign. Pretty cool. And yeah,
also,
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
I think you got excited. I don't really have much more to say now that I think about it, but no, I really like that. So yes,
the scrapbook part hit really good.
Yeah.
And the moment where she's fighting the computer, where she has where all those this part actually got a little tickle in the nose from me. This part did a little. There's no nothing coming on my eyes, nothing coming out of my eyes. Just a little tickle in the nostrils. And it's where throughout the movie you see her getting knocked down in different aspects, and but you never see her get back up. And at the end of the movie,
okay, with the Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah, when she's fighting.
I thought you were talking about like
the
the fucking internet cafe, and I'm like, that's a weird moment. It's
funny, but
that Supreme Intelligence is just talking shit and beating her down. And then the human side of her comes out, and every time that she's been knocked down in her past, and it snips all the pieces that were previously you were exposed to throughout the movie. It shows the aftermath of all of those falls, and after every fall she perseveres and gets back up. And I probably more so than the scrapbook one, but I remember the scrapbook one more readily, so maybe that one's more impactful. I don't know, but I really did enjoy that last one too. That one was really good. So there's some really good little snippets in there, I think.
That's a real Rocky kind of vibe. But when I was getting to Brie Larson like showing off her acting chops, I was thinking of some of the scenes in Louisiana with Monica Rambeau, and just like them reminiscing about their past, just like sharing intimate feelings when she just gets a flashback and discovers like what really happened to her and like who she really is. There were like some glimpses where I just saw like, oh shit, like this is like some top tier acting like I could see coming through.
She's a really good actress. Totally bae, for sure. What? Yeah, well, those two things.
Yeah, no, but I feel like you could definitely get some of those glimpses from some of those scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so once she finally kind of remembers everything and she sticks it to the man, the Supreme Intelligence, she says, "I'm human after all, bitch," and she fucking breaks out, and that is like the
Super
moment
Saiyan. Where
she finally goes binary. She goes Super Saiyan, and like I loved that sequence of her like feeling out her powers. Like it's the first time in like since she's gotten those powers, she's been unrestrained.
Yeah,
and like she's just surging with ridiculous
just
power.
a Girl comes on like that fighting sequence.
We got No Doubt. On top of everything.
That was good stuff.
Yeah, that was
she's
fucking
literally
cool.
blasting herself across the room.
Yeah, and she's like going so hard that like she blows herself back a couple feet, and she like knocks herself down and stands up and like smirks to herself. She's like, "This is some badass shit." I'm like, "Yeah, it's some pretty badass shit." Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, that's what I signed up for sure.
Yeah, and we saw a good amount of that in the trailer. We saw obviously when she kind of flies around and puts the helmet on, goes full Mohawk Bay and such, but. Yeah, to build to that moment, to see it play out in like full force, where she's just absolutely, oh man, she's just clowning everyone inside. It's great fun. It's really cool. I enjoyed that, and what you talked about with like the Superman, like that. She is extremely OP.
Yeah.
She's very overpowered. So it's
Is she that
it's
way in
like
the comics.
Thanos better hold on to his shit.
yeah. She's really powerful in the comics. Like I feel like they're framing her as easily the most powerful kind of hero that we've seen to date. Like the Vision seemed like he was there initially and really didn't do shit in his subsequent appearances. Like they kind of found ways to mitigate him for what like Infinity War, he gets stabbed. He's like, I can't do shit anymore, Captain. Here, like it's really going to be interesting, like whether she is the one that turns the tide against Thanos. I mean, that seems like the most predictable thing. So maybe it won't go that way. I don't know. Like I really don't know. But it definitely seems like when the Avengers are at their lowest point, they might need a Carol Danvers in their life to keep them moving. But it was really, I really liked that. I liked that they included Marvel. I did not expect that. That was something I thought they concealed pretty well in the trailers as well. Annette Bening, they did a gender swapped version of Marvel. That's sure to piss people off, and good. I thought
I saw somebody say that they switched genders for no fucking reason. Question mark in the Facebook comments. Fucking dick. What the fuck?
No, I was actually really clever. I didn't expect them to go that. I kind of just figured they'd kind of separate it from the comics, but the way they included that character I thought was really smart, really smartly written. A good addition, I thought. Goose was fucking great.
Yeah.
When he unleashed his full Flurkin potential, and
I didn't see that coming either.
Apparently, that's a comics thing.
Yeah.
That's very. Yeah. I mean, that's lifted wholesale from the comics.
I really hope Goose somehow survives. I mean, he's a Flurkin, so like he could survive like 20, 30 years, and meets up with Rocket in.
Yeah.
Because Rocket is scared of shit of Goose. And he just like they don't get along, so that would be a great matchup to have those two on screen.
Yeah, so I think that's mostly it for the body of the movie. We can talk some post credits if you guys would like to talk some post credits. Do you have any other thoughts about the movie itself before we get there?
Yeah, I enjoyed the spaceship battle with her friends steering that the precursor of the shield ship.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that or not.
Oh,
you
yeah,
the style of that ship.
Yeah, it's the Quinjet.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. But on a side note, I really enjoyed that whole sequence through the Grand Canyon or whatever canyon that was. I thought that was really well done. I thought that was cool.
It was very Independence Day.
And yeah, very Independence Day. I also enjoyed binary, the Mohawk. We didn't talk about this. That intro sequence where she is where they shoot the ship down.
Oh, and they go underwater,
and then it fucking shoots them out. She's awesome. Mohawk Bay under the fucking water.
There's like the little slow-mo shot of her like sweeping past with her bat at. Yeah,
and they all come out of the water. They all come out of the water with their fucking masks on, all fucking silent and shit. And then they go up there on top of the mountains, and that sniper fucking Creed Bay is pretty fucking bay too. Okay, she's up there with that thing, and she shoots that rifle, and it fucking bounces around across all the scrolls. That was some really cool shit.
Yeah.
That was some really cool shit.
I tell you what, that whole beginning sequence when I could see it with proper lighting, again, not a problem. It's fine. Fuck you, AMC or whatever. But when you could see, like, I got some Mass Effect vibes.
Yeah, and it was fucking cool.
And I liked it, especially the score there. Score was very Mass Effect-y to me, and I was just like, this is dope as fuck. Like, Jimmy Chan, great. Totally wasted here. I felt Sniper Bay, as you call her. She got clowned at the end, but I guess she's an alien. Career strong. They could survive exploding in their ship or whatever. Totally. But that was cool. I liked that sequence.
Sequence was fucking cool.
A lot more the second time for sure. When I could actually see it.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal. It's fine or whatever. Don't worry about it.
Her husband cheating on her, so she can do anything.
It's true. Spoiling other movies. We won't talk about which one though.
I tell you something else I like too. They rocked that mohawk throughout the entire movie.
Yes.
Like it was her like helmet thing.
Yeah, that's like her like flight mode type. Well, I guess she didn't have it in the tail end when she goes out in space with the jacket on. So clearly she could just breathe in outer space now, I guess, at this point. But or she's just holding her breath for a good while. I'm not sure what her plan is. But it definitely, they didn't shy away from that. And it was, I like the aesthetic of that. I think is really great. It was cool to see him lean into that.
And that's where we get into that questionable CG when she's falling through the air right before she learns how to fly.
Mm-hmm.
That was the quintessential CGI is kind of it's questionable right before she learns how to fly and she's falling through the clouds. I thought that looked pretty sketch. But aside from that, really cool spectacle, and they did the Star Force, I think is what they're called, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are certified badasses there in the beginning. I thought that was worth talking about.
Yeah, they had blue Tormund Giantsbane. And,
he just wants to use his fist. It's another thing too. The weapons that they use, like he had like a gravity gauntlet or something.
Yeah, Jan Rog did. Yeah, mm-hmm.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
You got the guy with the swords, which he just like fucking breaks the sword. Who gives a fuck about your swords? But that was cool.
It's like Drax is gonna rip your fucking head out of your head in a few movies time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So that's all I got. We can move on to other things now. Post credits.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't kill Jan Rog, by the way, because I feel I like Jude Law, but I feel like there's more to be mined with that character. I think.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think this is a hot take by any means, but this is one of my favorite suits in the MCU. Her like final like red and blue full mohawk binary like eyes glowing, like this is one of my favorite suits.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Helmet or no helmet?
Oh, I'm helmet.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Fucking helmet. Yeah.
No,
helmet. Cool.
I've been a fan of the helmet like from like day one in the comics. Like I just think it like looks cool. It makes a lot of sense to like be this galactic warrior with this giant mohawk.
She has mohawk in the comics.
Yeah, almost. It almost looks like it's like Roman, like gladiator.
Fucking
type
hey,
thing.
that's so fucking cool.
I think it just makes a lot of sense. I'm completely on board with this helmet look.
Okay, well, post credits. Anyone? Yeah. Let's talk about the tail end before we get to I think the bigger one in the middle. We see Goose spit up a little hairball. That looks a lot like the Tesseract.
Yeah,
I think it might be. It might be the Tesseract, in fact. A little humorous coda at the end.
Skull might be interested in that.
He might. Yeah, he might be. I don't know. He might be stuck somewhere else for a while, for eternity or something.
He might be less red at that time.
Yeah. But the mid-credit scene it appears to be lifted wholesale from Avengers Endgame. From the looks of it,
I think so. That's the vibe that I got with the music, the just the cinematography. It seems straight out of Endgame.
Yeah, actually, this is. I'm going to cut myself off before we talk further about it. I really liked the end note of Fury seeing Carol with her call sign of Avenger and using that as inspiration, and then you hear the Silvestri score kick in. I thought that was a really cool moment. I've seen people call that like cornball, and I'm like, that worked on me. So
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I feel like for fans, it definitely works.
It makes sense.
I thought it was.
It's very.
I feel like it's like as a movie that like we've seen Infinity War, and like this is kind of like the last thing we'll see before Endgame, which is more or less intended, I think, to be kind of the finale to like every movie up to this point. Obviously, there's going to be more after it, but really, I think it's designed to be an end of an era type thing, and like that did a really good job of kind of like bringing some aspects of it together and. In a way that, we know Captain Marvel, as we see from the credits, is going to be involved in the events of Endgame. So we see her respond to the pager that Fury, set off at the end of Infinity War in that post-credits sequence. And
they got that bitch hooked up to all sorts of batteries and shit, trying to figure out what the fuck it is.
Well, I didn't expect. I didn't expect to see Cap, or I didn't really. We see more or less most of the Avengers there. It was Cap, Widow, Banner, and Rhodey. Is that what we see in that? The four there. Mm-hmm. So it was cool to see that, and then we see
and they seen some
the
shit
pager
too.
goes
they're
off.
They're
well, the fucking the death toll is like rising basically, or the missing or snapped total is rapidly rising into the billions, and it's just like that's some heavy shit. And Carol makes a sudden appearance. Now, she has a line of dialogue that Henry and I could not hear the first time we watched it because people, as soon as they saw her on screen, clapped so loudly, I literally could not hear a fucking thing anymore.
That's terrible.
So, yeah, really, that first experience
Where's
was
Fury?
not good at all. But that is in fact what she says. I looked it up on the internets after, and I heard it clearly the second time, so I can confirm that is in fact what she said. And she's looking a little pissed. She's like, "What the fuck's going on?" She's sporting a different look too. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
It looked a little different.
Yeah, the costume itself. Costume is different. Hair is different. It's probably the most noticeable thing. It's a little bit tighter, straighter. But her costume, the star on her chest is flatter, and she has like gold pauldrons on her instead of red. So it's very similar, but it's a little bit different.
Indications that it's from a different movie.
And it's been 25 years. Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that you could point to for that, but I mean, it's not uncommon. I think every character has gotten a redesigned costume in every movie they've ever been in, so it makes sense that there's that for Carol as well. But yeah, it's this kind of big holy shit moment, you know. Carol interacting with the Avengers, it's happening, and we're gonna see the full implications of that in a very short amount of time, relatively speaking. So
I'm ready for Endgame. I'm ready so much.
Pretty excited to see that.
All right, I got a question for y'all.
Okay.
Yes.
Who outside of Talos, Ben Mendelsohn's character, calls Nick Fury something other than Fury?
Maria Hill.
Yeah.
Calls him Nick. Also, Alexander Pierce, Robert Redford's character in Winter Soldier.
Two very close Shield people, but yeah, no one else calls him Nick because, as he said, he's Fury.
Fury.
His mom calls him Fury. He calls his mom Fury.
Yeah, I mean, Well, I mean, Hill ain't doing too well for herself right now, being snapped and all. But yeah, I mean, if they go with the Secret Invasion standpoint, then it's just a matter of time until someone that we've been with for a few movies is revealed to be a Skrull. My betting money is still on Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, but
okay.
So
just don't give me an Avenger as a Skrull.
Yeah, I mean,
that's too tacky. I don't know. I don't want that.
Do you think so? Are you guys contemplating on like the next
post Endgame, because I don't think we'll see any Skrulls in Endgame.
Right. So post Endgame, after Thanos, the major villain for the next span of movies, what do you guys think the direction's going to be?
Well, I mean, I feel like this very much leans away from it being Skrulls, from it being a secret invasion of Skrulls infiltrating Earth. I mean, we could probably talk a little bit more about this when Endgame does come out, because it might give us a little bit of an indication potentially. But if I had my way, I would let Disney play fast and loose with those incoming Fox properties. Yeah. I'll take an Annihilus. I'll take a Galactus.
Yes.
I'll take a Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I'll take Doctor Doom would be incredible.
Yes.
I'll take any of those. So
oh my goodness. Could you imagine a fucking proper Doctor Doom?
Like a terrifying Doctor Doom.
I've never seen it depicted in live action, so Dr. I suppose I could imagine it, but seeing is believing, as is sometimes said by wise men. So there's a lot of wise men on this episode. A lot of wise sages.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But no, I think that's an interesting question. I think maybe once we see Endgame how it shapes up, where it ends, I think that maybe I don't know. I feel like it's gonna feel like a complete thing, but I at the same time, Marvel is they've always pressed forward, so I'd be curious to see if they sow any seeds. I don't think they would legally be able to sow any seeds for any of the Fox stuff just yet, but I don't know. It is interesting to see where they go with that.
Yeah.
But in terms more immediately to Captain Marvel will almost certainly get a Captain Marvel 2. Would you guys want to see another period setting? Would you want to see her fucking off in space, not even touching Earth? Do you want to see her going against Ronan, who seemed like he was pretty adamant, dead set on going against her, even though he got totally clowned in this movie, and he's going to get clowned in Guardians by fucking Star-Lord dancing with him? Ronan's
He's a bitch. Ronan's a bitch.
Ronan has been done no favors in the MCU. I'll put it that way. He's a really cool character in the comics. I was hoping that this movie would do a little bit of something for him, but man, it did not.
He's just a bitch.
And I love Lee Pace too, so it's
fucking asshole. It's
disappointing. Yeah. Which, to be fair, that's most of the Kree in general, but.
So no, I mean I don't with the way God damn it, I can't talk. With the way that they've portrayed her, she's virtually indestructible. It seems like I don't know how you have a. I'm kind of concerned with the way that they portrayed her. If I'm going to be frank,
there's this green rock, and it's called not kryptonite.
Yeah, so I mean, in order to have a compelling villain, who do you have her face off against? You know what I mean? In the second movie, I feel the only way to have a compelling villain is to have it off-world. You could do some planet hopping shit. She
Get
is
weird with
supposed
it.
to be finding these people a homeworld or something. You know, so I don't know. You know, I mean, obviously the Kree were able to reduce her powers with that thing that was on her neck. So I mean, I guess she does have weaknesses and everything else, but I mean, without that thing on her neck, she was just flying through the side of a ship. She
seemed like Superman.
Yeah,
Supergirl, I guess.
When you have a character that's done up that way, it makes it I don't know, it just makes it difficult to. It's
tough to write for. You have to really configure it in a way that is logical, and it doesn't feel like the CW where they have to make the Flash the dumbest motherfucker in the world. Right. Otherwise, he'd win every encounter in 3 seconds flat. You know, they have to do some homework for that to work convincingly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe it's a situation where maybe she fucking gets those people to their homeworld and she's got to fight off Galactus or some shit.
I don't know if she could do that by herself.
Right, exactly.
Planets is pretty
it's
intense.
Like some next level shit. I'll just eat you.
She's like, well, I'm at the Avengers. I guess whoever's still around after Endgame, maybe I'll call them up. Maybe she's got them on speed dial. Maybe there's another pager waiting in the wings. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. A sequel's a sure thing at this point, even if it hasn't been officially announced. Marvel's been kind of coy about announcing their post Spider-Man slate, but I'm not going to ask for MCU rankings because we've been here a while, and I don't think any of us remember that. For me, I would say this is easily top half Marvel for me. I think it's one of the better origin stories overall. I would put it above Doctor Strange. I think it's probably the most recent. Yeah. I would put it below Black Panther for sure. I'd put it below Guardians. I'd put it below Winter Soldier and Homecoming and stuff like that. But I think it's probably somewhere in the mid range for me overall in terms of the pecking order.
But I think around Thor 2 for myself personally.
Oh,
no, I'm joking. No, I'm very much joking.
Ouch. Okay.
No, definitely really good. It's definitely up there. Definitely, like I said, like you said, I definitely agree. It's definitely one of the better origin stories for sure.
Well, at long last, that is Captain Marvel. Henry, I'm gonna ask you. Do you have anything you've watched read recently, you want to shout out?
Sure. So I know there's something you two haven't watched, and I'll remind you again on this. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, seasons 1 and season 2 are fantastic. Okay. It's on Amazon. Go watch it. It's really great. Your boy Shazam is in it, season 2.
What's that about?
Yeah, so go see that. I've been watching your Avatar: The Last Airbender.
What's it about? I forgot my microphone wasn't in front of me.
So it's set in like the 1950s. You have Mrs. Maisel herself. She finds out that her husband and father of her 2 children is cheating on her. Ooh. And she decides to go out and get a little wild, and goes to a comedy club and finds out she's really good at stand-up comedy.
That sounds pretty cool.
But she comes from a very very traditional, very Jewish household, and has to figure out how to navigate through that in 1950s, where they don't even let women be comics, But very very well made. You can watch the series and tell this is a high quality TV show. So I definitely recommend that. I've been watching your Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
It's very good stuff. I'm on season 2 right now. You want to finish it, and hopefully you'll get on some Korra.
Yeah, I do need to get on the Korra.
Yeah. Other than that, just watching some movies, playing some video games, finishing up Super Smash Bros., playing some Let's Go Pikachu, some Red Dead Redemption number 2, some Final Fantasy X remastered, no, those are my main shout outs for the day.
Well, very good. Thank you, sir. Andrew, anything for you?
I've been watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, have you now? Well, that's a
been watching
shocking development.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones. I did pick up. We went over this before, but I have some Golden Globe and Oscar nominee pictures to watch. I got The Favorite on the Blu-ray and at Eternity's Gate. Also picked up The First Man and a couple Studio Ghibli movies, The Cat Returns and Ocean Waves. I'm going to try to break up my. It's important for me to try to pace myself on these Game of Thrones episodes because Colton's got obligations and very important obligations, and it's very easy for me to just sit down and grind out 9 hours of television in 2 days. I can do that without a problem. So I picked up some movies to hopefully sprinkle in through my watching of the Game of Thrones to attempt to pace myself, because once I get going on that Game of Thrones train, I don't want to stop it. So
nothing stops this train.
That's right. So
it's the wrong TV show, but it's fine.
I got some stuff to try to work out. So that's it.
Well,
yeah,
you got plenty of stuff to occupy your time. Sounds like so.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Well, my spring break, unfortunately, is ending. It's reaching the end of reaching its conclusion. It took me a while to get there. It's fine. But I flew down to Florida, the land of sunshine, for a good amount of time. Andrew and I hung out for a few days. Well, he hung out with work most of the time, but he was with me some of the time too.
You painted a picture, man.
I painted a fucking picture. We both painted a picture. You painted Wolf Star, the most badass painting there ever was. And I painted a picture, which wasn't half bad if I do say so myself.
I got to ship that to you. Would you like to put that up in your room?
I'll get it eventually. One day I'll retrieve it. Yeah, keep that under lock and key. Make sure it goes nowhere. But no, it was fun. Saw friend James from the Film Podcast. Hung out with him a couple times. Was good fun. Saw an Atlanta Braves spring training game. I know you were very jealous of, but it was cool. Saw Ronald Acuna blast a solo shot to center field. Fucking mammoth home run. It was pretty beautiful. Saw my nephew, which was nice. Haven't seen him in a while. I saw
him.
He just turned. Yeah, we saw him. That's right. He just turned 1 a little while ago. So he's a little tyke, and it's cool. It's cool. Watched some Game of Thrones together. Recorded some Game of Thrones together. Visited some breweries. Had some brews. Had a good time. It was relaxing. I needed it. I needed the sunshine. I needed the 80-degree weather to be injected into me because I've been sick of fucking 30, 40 degrees. And it worked. Because when I got back to 40 degrees, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I was like, okay, I feel good now. It's actually warming up a little bit up here, too, which is nice. I think it was like 50s today. So pretty solid. But it was fun. Well-needed break. But ending too soon. I feel not ready to quite go back to my real responsibilities just yet, but what choice do I have now? I've been watching Arrested Development Fateful Consequences a little bit more. It's the Season 4 remix. I think I've got 5 or 6 left to go in that. Season 5. I'll probably be able to roll right into the full Season 5 by the time I'm done with it. It's good fun. I think the remix, the re-editing of it does it a lot of favors. At the same time, it likes to recap itself a lot, so it doesn't totally lend itself to a binge-watching format. Like, it's supposed to be almost watched, I think, week to week in the way that it's set up. At least it's kind of edited in that way. But it's good. It's good fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. Octopath Traveler was the game I picked up on the flight down to Florida. I think I've poured 15 hours into it since I was down in Florida, since I've been back up collectively. So I've sort of beat the game. So you have 8 characters that you recruit. Each one has their own storyline. The way I divvied the game up was that I would have 2 parties of 4, and I have beaten the entire storylines for my first party of 4. And I've officially taken them all out of my party, and now I have my new party of 4. I was at level 60 plus, and now I'm down to level 20, but I'm ready to work through their stories and finish the game up properly.
No intersections at all in that game.
No, each story is really separated. Like you can like that's kind of the thing is you can pair any characters and it doesn't matter. There's no one central character to the game, but there's no real intersection. Like everyone kind of does their own thing, and your party members just kind of help you fight the battles that you encounter along the way. So I wish there was more. Like I think there's like a final boss you can fight once you kind of beat all 8 of the stories or whatever, but it's not like a real story driven type thing. So each one's very separated. So I hope they do a sequel that they integrate them in a way that it, even if it's the same thing, like there's like an end game type thing,
Gotcha.
an end game type thing. Avengers end game, get it? So I really enjoy it. Recommend it. Good JRPG. Big fun. Lots of good times. Big fun. Lots. I also, upon my return to Philadelphia, received a mysterious package from the Noy estate. Now, I talked a little bit about this on this podcast, about a podcast called Finding Drago, about the works of one Todd Noy, this mysterious author who penned Drago on Mountains We Stand, an unauthorized sequel to Rocky IV about Ivan Drago's resurgence after his humiliating defeat at the hands of Rocky Balboa. And it's weird. I come back and there's this package with a stamp on the back, and lo and behold, I open it up. I open it up, and there's these 2 books in it that are Drago on Mountains We Stand and Swarmer, 2 of the recently found works from the great Todd Noy. So I guess someone listens to this podcast and found my information and sent it to me.
Wait, hold on a second. So you didn't actually actively order that shit?
No.
It just appeared?
It just appeared. So that's some fishy shit. Some cool shit, but it's some fishy shit. So, the Noy estate works in mysterious ways, so I don't know what the fuck's going on there, and I haven't had a chance
hold on a second. That's amazing. What the fuck?
I haven't had it. Well, dude, look at the Goodreads page for fucking for Drago on Mountains We Stand. Like the way that the books find their way into people's lives, it's really, really strange. I will say that. Like, there's a weird kind of. There's a weird thing going on with this. I don't know. So, I hope to read them. I have obligations, as you mentioned, but my hope is I'll be able to read them. They're very small books, so it shouldn't be too bad. I just need to carve out an evening to myself when I have some time and dig in on some Drago on Mountains We Stand. So we'll see what the Noy estate has in store for me. Because
how did that fucking happen? That's so weird.
I don't know. I'm kind of not thinking about it too much because it's creepy in some ways, I guess, but it's fine.
It's definitely not creepy. No, it's fucking, I mean, it's interesting. Could be slightly creepy, I guess, but no Vinoy State shit come to my house, maybe because they know I can't read.
Yeah, I guess, I think phone numbers and stuff are like public records, so you probably did a little digging. You could probably find my address, I guess, without too much trouble. But either way, anyway, not gonna think about it too much. But that's all I have on tap. Hopefully, I'll have some more words on those books on a future episode.
And nobody's admitted to sending you the book.
Well, I mean, it was shipped from overseas. It was shipped from, like, it has the international mail kind of stuff on it. So it was shipped from, I think, England. So I don't know.
That's fucking cool. It's like a ghost story. And that guy fucking dead?
Yeah, but both books are signed too.
By the dead man?
By Todd Noy, yeah. By the guy that died of alcoholism or something like that and was laid to rest in like the 90s or something like that. So
it's like oh man. That's blowing my mind.
So I guess the bottom line is go listen to Finding Drago from Alexi Toliopoulos and Cameron James. So anyway, that's all I have. So I guess without further ado, thank you all for listening to this episode. Thank you for sticking around for 2 hours plus, one of the longest we've done in a while. We had a lot to talk about. I know news took probably longer than we anticipated, but a lot to cover. I thought it was an enjoyable episode to record. Hopefully that translated to the listening experience. And if you thought so, if you enjoyed what you heard, we encourage you to spread the word to your friends. Maybe they too will get mysterious packages from us. They won't. We won't do that. That's weird. But you never know. Patreon, just a quick reminder on that front. If you want to listen to the Game of Thrones Season 2 episode, it is currently a timed exclusive over on our Patreon feed, so head over to watchreviewrepeat.com, our website, click the premium tab in the top left, and then click the Become a Patron button, and $2 a month will get you access to that episode, along with all of our future bonus episodes and early access to our regular episodes. Follow us on Twitter at WRRPod. Like us on Facebook at Watch Review Repeat. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, if you were offended by our comments about people getting butthurt about some gender swapping in Captain Marvel, I don't want to hear your shit, so fuck off. But if you have anything else to say that's constructive, we welcome that. Send it to watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Henry is taking a selfie, I believe, which is good for him. I got a thumbs up from him, so I hope that turned out well. On that note, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Henrique Jaime, resident Marvel expert in the house. Always welcome his thoughts. Safe to say, Avengers Endgame comes around the corner. Maybe he'll be back if he wants to. It's up to him.
I didn't get dusted at the snap, so
I survived. Yeah, I survived the subreddit snapping, and I survived the there was like a website that kind of told you if you survived. Yeah, so I did good. I did good on that front. So our next episode will be on something. We can confirm exclusively that it will be on something. You heard it here first. We're thinking it's going to be Captive State or Triple Frontier, the Netflix movie, but I think we're kind of pending further developments with kind of how they review. I know the earlier buzz on Triple Frontier seemed pretty solid. It's got Andrew's boy in it, so that's a good look. Captive State seems kind of interesting, but it's been radio silence on reviews and stuff like that so far. Just don't know. So probably one of those two, if I had to guess. But we'll see. It'll work itself out. But that's it. Thank you all again. We hope you guys have a wonderful week. Go watch Captain Marvel in theaters, and you'll be flying higher, further, faster, baby. Andrew,
take care now. Bye bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.